cold. Steam. Spark. Does anyone remember who I am? In a few moments, you will have an experience which will seem completely real. It will be the result of your subconscious fears transformed to your conscious awareness. You have 5 seconds to terminate this tape. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What is fucking up? It is Plus Ultra, baby. This is the Gray fucking Lodge, Friday Night Gnostic Mass. As Matt very well said the other day, live on motherfucking Occult Rejects. Let's fucking ball, baby, because this is the new Aeon. We are here. We made it. We motherfucking made it. Okay, we made it. We made it as a group. We made it as a space. We made it as a show. We made it as, like everything. And then we also brought in the new fucking Aeon. We did it. Well, we did. I don't know who you are, but Kimberosax? I don't know. But yeah, we did. We did. We brought in the, I said the key word. The key word was Lamed Mem Delay. So let's fucking go. Love is the cause of knowledge, baby. So, this is the Grey Lodge. Plus Ultra presents the Grey Lodge. Friday Night Gnostic Mass, Temples of the Mind Palace. So I am Jin the fucking Ninja. Yeah, I'm still a ninja. Just, I'm in my Shuai gears. So I have a show called, as Joshua very kindly said on also that same episode of Occult Rejects, listen to my show, Threshold Saints, which has featured all of the brothers. Mike is coming. It's happening. It's just hasn't manifested, materialized into material reality, but it will. A very strong will. So, of course, we come in consent, we come in free will as an aeonic concept. We also come in loving kindness, bodhicitta, non-duality. What else? We come in non-duality, bodhicitta. What else do we come in, guys? There's something else. I'm forgetting something. Bodhicitta. Middle fucking path. That's right. Middle fucking pillar. We are a middle pillar group. Absolutely. I practice Dharma. You don't have to practice Dharma. I think Dharma is the truth because the word Dharma means the truth. But, do as thou will. We're also about that too. So, there you go. I had a bunch of questions and things prepared for each of you. Hello, Cassandra. I guess we'll do room shoutouts. I'll let you guys roundtable. We'll do more of a roundtable if you want tonight, and we can definitely talk about whatever you guys have cooking. Obviously, I just want to say, I know Solar's not here, not feeling well, so we're pouring out for the homie, but the reality is like we did the space because we were all like, okay, let's do it. So it's unfortunate, but we hold it in. We hold the mass regardless, right? Hold the line in space on the app called X, which is both the 10 and the 11. And what is our motto or our manifesto? I think the manifesto of the Lodge is Aeon of the fucking Daughter, but it's also Aeon of the Sun. Let us not forget the very important principle, the solar principle, the Tiferatic principle. Really important. It's the synthesis. It's the rectification. It's the let's fucking surf the aether wave in this hyperspace fucking kingdom. And let's figure out like why we're here and what we're fucking doing. And like, let's make a truly psychic Aeon. That's what I think. So I'm joined by my brother and also my good friend, as also our webmaster for thetruegraylodge.com, as well as our social media director, who hosts our YouTube channel, Matt Murrah, who has his own website and his own services and his own identity, because we all come from our own, we'll say, quadrants on the square. But when we come together, it is powerful. 5 is a magic number. 5 petals on the Rosicrucian rose and 5 petals on the motherfucking lotus of the arrow, obviously. Well, it's not really a lotus, it's an Impala flower, but anyways, we won't get that semantic or pedantic tonight. I'm also joined by my brother, my co-host, William fucking Birkin, Dr. William. But he's also known by other names, which is a very cool principle. So one of his many names is Joshua, and also the branch. So he will get referred to probably by all 3, by me particularly, tonight, because I always do. Sorry, Joshua. And it's just easier. We can kind of be in space and be in flux. This is what the, Aeon of the Daughter is all about. It's about like, how do we navigate space in this time of very much decoherence. So gold star for Jin, gold star, because what? We are in a period of decoherence like we have never seen before. It is unfucking believable. I never thought I would say this. This app is become like almost unusable. There we go. Solar Exile. What's up, homie? Yeah, so you missed our whole thing about like going into primordial consciousness and dipping down. But anyways, we're still in the intro stage, so it's all good. So obviously joined by my co-host, my brother, Solar Exile, who teases me relentlessly on a great many topics, but who I care about, as I care about you all, as I was saying, because we brought in the Aeon together. So regardless of what happens in the world, regardless of like all the decoherence, and regardless of, the instability of the Aether wave, we kind of made our mark. So good fucking job. And we made it to 2026, year of the Fire Horse, which is hopefully going to be a year to get that bag for at least this young Jinskis over here, because he really needs to get it together. He's getting a little old, and I have things I want to do now. I think something awoke in me in the last couple of weeks, maybe. I don't know. Well, we'll see. But anyways, I just have things I want to do. I just feel like the whole 2025 was like fucking carnal ground, but it was so generative in a way. And as I always say, because we're non-dual, the carnal ground is also a garden, and the paths are also what you build of it. So I just think that's what it is. And so I've learned so much. I've come a long way. I'm the first to say I'm nobody's teacher. I'm nobody's I'm not psychic. I mean, I am psychic, but that's not the point. The point is I'm not here to teach anyone. I'm not here to be an arbiter. I'm not here to be an influencer, at all, 0%. What I'm here to do is talk about magic, talk about Dharma, talk about the Aeonic cycle, talk about how to move through if I think I have anything to offer, and ourselves in. And that's what our whole Grey Lodge is about. That's what our whole space is about. And I'm so proud of us. I'm just so proud of us. I can't even tell you. It's really cool to have done this. People have emailed me from the original Aeon of Mott workings, and I'm like, we see you. I'm going to try not to cry, but we see you. We hear you. I know. But they said, it's cool. They're like, you're doing it. And I'm like, yeah, we're fucking doing it. We did it. I'm sorry. I don't, anyways. So it just is very moving to me. And I just think, wow, I did it. And I'm not even a people person. As you all know, I work really hard to be generative. And as Solar says, high openness in the GC. It's very uncomfortable at times, but I just push myself to share as much or as little as you do. So I kind of, as Mike notes to me often, I'm a true Sagittarius, totally mutable. I kind of go with it. Of course, I have a very strong will, so I have to temper the polarities, as you say, within myself, in my own mind. Number one, control what you can, control your own sphere as best you can, and of course, Mike. So Mike's our newest addition, but he is not the last or the least. He is a very important addition, and because 5 is a magic number for me, a very important number. It's the number of Akasha, the number of the prime consciousness. Diamond Thunder, if you want to call it that. As Vajrasattva says, from the 5 arises the 6, and from the 6 drops down into the 5. It's kind of magic if you think about it. Very middle pillar magic, but magic nonetheless. Because magic is motherfucking real. And Mike. So Mike is an Astro Bro, Crypto Bro, and just awesome dude. And so we're so lucky to have him. And thank you guys all for coming. Matt Murrah, Joshua the Branch, / Dr. William Birkin, man of many names, Solar Exile. No longer really an exile because he's one of us, really. And Mike, of course. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. And let's fucking go. So we'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. You introduce yourselves. And if you need me, I'm here. I'll moderate. I'll be a good boy. Yeah. I mean, I had ideas. I was like, we're going to talk about this thing. And I was going to ask Solar, like, about his kind of, like, newfound appreciation for simplicity in the mind. Because I think this is actually a really good Aeonic concept. And I think it's a really good sort of, like, mental practice for every single person. But I don't want to put him on the spot, and obviously we all can talk about it in our own ways, and like how to incorporate daily sadhana. When I first started podcasting, I did daily sadhana 2 hours a day minimum, and then I came to a place where I was doing like little 30-minute quick cuts. That doesn't really work for me. I'm just being honest. I'm just being really honest. Like 2 hours of hardcore sitting and recitation and mandala practice. So return to that, and return to Dharma, but not being rigid, I would think. That's kind of the Aeonic concept I learned of 2025. Rigidity can be a big enemy. So let's break those fucking klipas. Yes, Solar Exile, please go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Jin, and hey, guys. So, I mean, to be totally honest, I sort of just jumped on tonight to, give you guys my love and say hi and show a little support. I'm feeling very crappy under the weather, unfortunately. So even though I had kind of pushed to do the space, I'm then gonna have to bail. So I'm sincerely apologetic for that. I did want to say kind of to your question a little bit, but also sort of to the vibe of the week. I am thoroughly enjoying myself in a sort of twisted way, I think. So as you said, we're in this period of decoherence, but at the same time, things have been ratcheted up to a fever pitch, certainly in the sort of like political discourse stateside, right? For those of you who are abroad, you probably are aware kind of what's going down. A lot of narratives around that. And yeah, people are pretty entrenched in their positions, and understanding kind of what's going down, the high stakes morality of what they perceive to be going down. Right. And so, and of course, like I have friends all across the spectrum from normie to extremist on all ends, right? I enjoy cultivating that. And so one thing that's been really generative for me is I'm having to kind of like ride out the sort of like waves, the peaks and valleys that a lot of people are sort of presenting to me just by being around them, what they're sharing, sort of what they're feeling, right? While at the same time, like feeling increasingly sort of detached from any of those sort of reified positions, right? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't come to your own conclusions about things, engage with the world. I'm not advocating some like ascetic withdrawal or something like that, right? But because I'm sort of getting like constantly bombarded by these narratives that sort of emotionally and ethically blackmailed or attempted, blackmailed into participating in, right? To accept them, to reject them, etc. It's sort of compressing me in like to a higher and higher degree, like my withdrawal from that, right? Like because like I'm less and less inclined to extend myself and to participate. And it's actually been very nice in terms of my practice. In the same way that I spent a lot of time, I don't know, kind of like fucking around with really, really complicated notions of soul complexes and mind and this and that. And increasingly, maybe over the last like year and a half, in like Dzogchen practice, right? Like what's remained, as Jin kind of set up, is this simple, like completely like indivisible, like adamantine kind of foundation, right? Where at least ideally there are really no fracture points, right? Because I'm not really really extending into anything that's not kind of like within that like unified infinite space, empty space of luminous mind. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's really been like working for me. And it's been kind of fun to write out, I guess. But also that's me being a little chaos gremlin. So anyway, I've said a lot. I just kind of wanted to say hey for tonight and wish you guys a good space.
Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate it. Honestly, it was a bit. It was like a great move. I'm really glad that you came and said hey to us. It meant a lot to me, and also all of us, obviously. So thank you very much. I think that was great. I think that everything that you said, I co-sign. Like, let's ride the fucking Aether wave. I know we podcasted with Ethan Indigo, who's a friend of this show, who's a friend of my show, who's a friend of Rejects, obviously. And Ethan is a big surfer. Ethan was a pro surfer for a little while, and he got it. He got it right away. As soon as I used the Quicksilver Surfer metaphor, the Silver Surfer metaphor, he was like, yeah, let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. Let's ride this like chaotic wave. Because he's like a Taoist or like a little bit Buddhist, a little Taoist, kind of like you, Solar. So he's kind of like a mix. So he kind of gets it. He's like, chaos is just in the world and let's like fucking ride with it. So, and I think that's what all brings us all together too, is like, as I've always said, like it's kind of an extension of the show that Joshua used to do of Weaving Spiders. And like, I'm not like a particular like chaos worshiper, but I definitely acknowledge her in the world. And like, wisdom is free and empty in space. So anyways, okay, Matt Murrah, go ahead. Sorry, buddy. And then Joshua and then Mike.
What is motherfucking up, man? I loved the intro today. Thanks, Solar, for coming as well. Really nice to hear from you. And yeah, before I say who I am, for those who never heard us, I was eating here some Chinese food, and I had those biscuits come out, and it says, "It's easier to lose yourself when you think you know the way. That's why we stay in fucking flux." Right? So that was very nice. And also it was funny because the first three numbers, it's like my day, my birthday, then my birth month, and then the age that I will be when I make my birthday this year. So that was really fucking crazy, but funny. Anyways, Matt Murrah, you can find me always as @MattMurrah19. That's going to be on here on X, obviously, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, maybe some other place like Ko-Fi or whatever. And there's also my website. That's going to be Kabbalah.com, KAABALAH.com. There's a lot of stuff there, but nowadays, or at least in the time that we are doing this space, I'm trying to focus more on some tarot things. So in my pin profile on X, I go a little bit on it, but if you want to know more, just DM me, trying out some stuff, and I need people to help me test it to make sure it's cool for everyone. So if you're curious, just DM me. If either you don't know anything about it or you actually read tarot for others, that also might be super helpful. So just hit me up. Also, there's our website, like Jin said, thetruegraylodge.com with a V. So graylodge.com. And we post it always on YouTube's, usually on Wednesdays. And yeah, you can always check those out there. I've had to repost one of those. I think not the last one, but the other one I've reposted because the audio was kind of messy. But yeah, now it's there again. And yeah, pretty excited for today. It was funny because also yesterday on my Kabbalah lesson, we talked about the palaces. And today we have the Temples of the Mind Palace. So there's always some catch with the week, weekly Kabbalah thing in the spaces. That's always super funny to me. So yeah, let's go. And also, sorry, to top it off, 2026 is gonna be crazy. I can already see it from the first week, from all the astro, numerology, whatever, everything. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to happen. Also in my personal life, so gonna be cool. As within, so without, right?
Isn't that interesting that things can just like generate that you have no idea that even exists? And like you kind of get yourself together. Not that I'm together. I'm not really like I'm not. I'm kind of wild, as you all know. So that's kind of more typical of me, I guess. I don't know. But it is interesting. I just think like alchemy is very interesting. Anyways, I'm sorry. It is interesting also, the Temples of the Mind Palace. Why did I name it this? Well, obviously, we've always joked since the very beginning, since I think the first Aeon of the Daughter Space, since the first book club, like, yeah, maybe spiritually a little bit, we are kind of a temple of psychic youth, but not the temple of psychic youth. We just are a temple, is that perhaps is neo-Gnostic in orientation at times, and the Mind Palace. So why did I call it the Mind Palace? Because I think that is fundamentally, like even what Solar was talking about, and actually I was the butt of a joke about the Mind Palace by him. He said he was getting out of Samsara, and then he was like, but Jin's going to build the Mind Palace. So I was like, it's a little homage to that for sure. Anyways, I'm sorry. Joshua, the branch, please go ahead.
Thank you for the intro, and it's great to be here, guys. Sabat Shalom. I am really happy to be here sharing space with you guys. It's always a pleasure. I look forward to these spaces quite a bit, and your guys' voices are so familiar to me now that it, it kind of brings me comfort. I imagine them sometimes. But anyway, yeah, I don't have a lot going on right now. I did start doing spaces recently, probably on like Wednesday nights, I guess, barring, of course, any unforeseen technical difficulties, which I have noted. But at any rate, 2026 is indeed crazy. It's already starting out. You know, we got to grab the goat by the horns. You know, it reminds me of some of those videos I've seen of the goats flying down the mountain, where if you know if the camera's fast enough, it can catch where their legs aren't even touching the mountain. Like they're just like a bullet, you know, zooming down the hill. So I kind of feel like Capricorn sometimes is that, you know, kind of unexpectedly things can kind of happen, you know, and challenges can maybe come out of nowhere, etc. Because I'm an Aries, so you know I'm very ram-like, right? But there are some differences between goats and rams, and I think that's a nice study sometimes to look at. So, but you know, challenges and climbing the greater heights, better with money, you know. So this year I've been trying to focus on financial health and things like that, but also temple building the body. I've talked with Solar about this in spaces before, you know, just trying to get fit and so that you're more able to do your path working, you know. Anyway, thanks for sharing space, guys.
Thank you, Joshua. Solar Exile, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to be bogarting time during intros. I know I kind of gotta go. I'm not up for this, but sorry, you said something really important that just resonated with me and with Joshua too, man. In terms of building the foundation, another way to think of that is like, how much of this can I automate so that these things, these sort of like processes, these internal changes, right, that I'm trying to actualize in myself and then in my like quote unquote external world, not really, but you know, that they sort of like run by themselves or at least like maintain maximal momentum, right? And so like one of the key, this is just like a practical comment, but it's something that I've really over the last couple of years tried to focus on like for their own sake, right? So like instead of trying to like instead of trying to focus on what sort of immediate outcome do I want, do I need, really the focus should be on sort of like what procedures, what do I need to implement, what sort of like foundation do I have to lay such that that outcome is going to like naturally arise on its own, right? And then like once you set those things up properly, then you can like start to iterate, right? Start to adjust, right? Because if the outcome isn't exactly what you want, either it's not meeting the target specifications or it is, and it turns out you need to aim at a slightly different thing or a radically different thing, whatever, right? But kind of like going beyond that, like, you know, simple like object like or like target thinking and start to think more in terms of like systems. And really like the automation thing is key, right? And like sorry, because I just got back from the gym, which is a terrible decision. But you know, in terms of that too, right? Like if you want to lose weight, you shouldn't focus on doing a ton of cardio. I mean, cardio is good, but you should really be building muscle mass, like at the end of the day, right? To raise your like base metabolic rate such that you can, you know, you're building a caloric overhead, right? Like on a daily basis. That over the span of like 6 months is going to burn a lot more calories as well as give you other benefits than just like hitting cardio all the time, right? That kind of shit. But like that's really obvious in the case of like physical fitness. It's sometimes less obvious in terms of like setting yourself up, building like productive, positive like habits, both magical and mundane. Like this is, I'm not trying to be like self-help fucking guy, but it applies just as much to like career educational stuff as it does to like ritual design and greater black magic and stuff like that. I've been implementing this kind of thinking in both my magical practice and my mundane practice, right? So all right, hey, you guys have a wonderful night. I will definitely catch this space on the recording, and yeah, love you guys a lot.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. Have a good night. Take care of yourself. See you tomorrow. We're taking a Tibetan class tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes. I think it'll be fun. I'm just laughing. I'm just teasing. So obviously Mike, we'll let Mike go and plug. I know he'll say, oh, I'm doing this, but I can't talk about it. Anyways, Mike, go ahead. Please plug yourself.
um, Writing off that. Good evening, guys. How's it going? I'm glad to be here. There's something I can't talk about. There's a few things I can't talk about, unfortunately. There's some things I can't talk about for certain reasons, and some things I can't talk about because I'm just gonna sound insane. But I don't have anything to plug, but it'd be cool if we could talk about some of the things that I've been doing, just with astrology, and I've been going deeper into like Vedic, and there's different types of Vedic in sidereal astrology, and I've been trying to use it honestly to like time like very, very like lucky moments. And there's like some nuances to different all the different like aspects to it. I think it's really cool and really interesting, and a lot of people don't at least a lot of astrologers that you see on Twitter, they're not going as much into this stuff. They're usually, most are Western astrologers, and these sidereal astrologers usually are talking about the same things. They're not really using it in this type of context. But there's a lot of stuff I would love to talk about, but I just can't. And I'm just really happy to be here. And I don't know, maybe it'll come out anyways. We'll see.
Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate that. Obviously, yeah, I feel so good about the Grey Lodge lately. Like the last couple weeks, I've just been like, yeah, we're fucking doing it. We're fucking hitting it. It's great. We all generally get along pretty great. And the new chat has been, honestly, probably the best Grey Lodge chat that it's ever been. I know. We have to count the bodies that came before, unfortunately. But do we? Since I'm a Buddhist and a tantric, I say we just cremate the bodies where they lay. And then we say ashes to ashes, dust to dust, Hongpei, empty in space. But I will say that I'm really glad with all the people that we've added, and I'm really glad that Cassandra and I have become actually, like, I would call us like friends, like legit. And I think we see a lot of ourselves in each other in a way. Like, yeah, I'm like the wilder, battier, like boy version, but yeah, still kind of, yeah, we're similar in a way. So I appreciate that, and I think it's good. I think it's like been really generative, and of course it's not just Cassandra, but Cassandra is a member of the Grey Lodge, so obviously I'm gonna do room shoutouts. She has her own Etsy store. She does content creation. She does readings for a fee. Don't be like me. I only did it once, so you know. But yes, don't be like me. Go pay for a reading if you want one, and or check out her Etsy store, or check out her content. And she's a really amazing person. So thank you so much, Cassandra. I'm so glad you're here. Vision, what is up, homie? I know you're an astrologist, as I accidentally called you, I think once. But appreciate you, and appreciate all your support on the for this lodge, and that's what it's all about, right? Like, this is not to make money. It's not to even, like, yes, I want everyone to promote themselves. I've always been like really big in the idea of everybody should have their work that they promote, whatever that may be. But at the end of, like, we do not get paid to do this. I don't get paid for Threshold Saints. I don't even think I want to be honest. I thought about it. I was like, maybe I'll do an hour on Patreon. But honestly, it's so much work. Patreon, to do an extra hour with someone, that means you have to book someone. That means that you have to like figure out a game plan. And like, I'm really enjoying what I'm really enjoying with all of you and with the Threshold Saints is actually having aeonic conversations. Because I think that's what makes me, like, quote unquote, I'm not successful as a podcaster. I'm not trying to self-aggrandize is what I'm trying to say. I'm not unsuccessful. I'm just saying I like have an indie audio occult e-zine. So it is what it is. That's what that's what it is. It's like, we're cool for being cool, but it's not necessarily about the volume, right? So I think, yeah, it's important that everyone plugs, but at the same time, I think we have to have generative conversations. And I think that's part of what people notice about the Grey Lodge and what made us different immediately from all the other, not just spaces, but just all the other YouTube shows. No one is hitting the Aeonic concepts. We hit them a year and a half earlier than everyone else, every single fucking person. We hit it, way before Astro Twitter like started to even recognize, like, as we've spoken about many times, there are good astrologers on Astro Twitter, right? Like, I'm friendly with Joe Tier Astrology. I think he's a great astrologer. I don't always agree with him, but I think he's a great astrologer. And like, Cassandra does astrology, Mike does astrology, Matt does astrology. So obviously I fuck with some of them. And I know Vision's astrologer, and we're cool. So that's how it goes. So Joshua, please go ahead.
I was going to ask for your opinion. Do you think that what we've been seeing with silver and gold and copper, people returning to earth things during Capricorn season, for me that just seems kind of obvious, but I was wondering if you guys could maybe elaborate on any astrological weather so to speak that could account for those types of things.
Okay, this is definitely not a Young Jinsky's question. This is definitely a Mike question, so I'll pass it over to his hand right now.
Hey, so I with when we're at the end of a market cycle, people tend to pivot to gold and silver to maintain the value of their money. So like the stock market is very high right now, and they're anticipating a crash. So everybody's been flooding to gold and silver. And in crypto, like crypto kind of crashed actually a bit ago. And a similar thing happens in crypto where people anticipate a crash, so they all pivot to privacy coins. And there's been like privacy coins have been like increasing by a lot lately. And I think the energy right now is not astrological. I think it's a cyclical energy. And it's been affecting a lot of people really bad. Like I've noticed like 50% of Twitter is like gone. And it's just like I mean, even if like personally, like it has like it's like a feeling of like almost like pressure. And like this is what happens in the cycles, I've noticed. And it gets a lot worse as it elapses. Like I remember just like this is like there's multiple cycles. There's like a 10-year cycle and a 4-year cycle. It feels like repressed. But there was just like a lot of like turmoil and a lot of like loss of hope, especially with people that are close to the market. And that there's like the only way I can understand it is like it's like an egregore, and it's just affecting everybody, and it's affecting people that are not in the market at all, which is like I think really interesting.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you both. That was a great question and a great answer. And so I have to say about like people feeling blackpilled about the market, like the market's the motherfucking dragon. Like it goes up and down. It's a wave. It's a cycle. Like if you follow just the simple aeonic principles of surfing with the wave, surfing with the Aether wave, it doesn't mean that you're going to weather it perfectly and not lose money. You think I lost money, but I'm just saying that the reality is, you have to pick it back up and you have to rectify where you can rectify not the ant, the fire horse, the year of the fire horse, which has not happened yet. Be very clear. You see people saying like, "Oh, happy year of the fire horse." No, Nagas, that is not happening until the very end of February. And unlike other people who performatively celebrate Chinese New Year as an actual Chiner. Well, I'm not actually a Chiner. I'm a Hapaborean. But anyways, the point is Hapaborean. So, well, I'm not a Chiner. I'm a Hapaborean, Shuai Hapaborean Magi. I'll just say that actually real Chinese people, including myself, know that the Lunar New Year actually lasts 9 days. So it's not just one night. It's the 9 day, it's the whole cycle. So it's going to last until March 3rd. So figure it out. And also, that's it. I guess, I have to do other room shout outs. So, of course, Zachary Shumar, my brother from another mother, for reals. Just like an awesome dude. He has his channel. I'm sorry, so sorry, Zach. I'm forgetting the name. I know what it is because I get the notifications and I like all the videos. I'm really good about it. It's like those. It's a construction thing. It's like him, Zach, doing his like thing. Like he's the boss, and they do like the paving and all the stuff. So and you get to see like the heavy machines and them do like a day's or multiple days worth of work, and he time lapses. It's really good. Like total Jin thumbs up. Like it's great. So subscribe to Zach. Obviously, Zach's been on my show multiple times. 6 times, I think, Zach. 5 or 6 times, quite a few times. So obviously check that series out, Tracy Twyman. That's where the space came. You want to know where the Grey Lodge came from? Plus Ultra, baby. Well, I mean, it's a synthesis. That's what the Grey Lodge is. That's why it's the Grey Lodge. That's why it's at Hokmah. Come on, you guys know I love Grey. I love Hokmah. Because why? It's the unmanifest potential of the worlds. You have to put it into a narrative, a story. That's how you bring Hokmah into reality. That's the whole point of Hokmah. So you have to bring the Aeon, bring God, whomever it is, whatever it is. Your own hyperstition. I know that was a popular term a little while ago. Anyways, yes, Joshua, please go ahead.
So one thing I did forget to mention was silver did peak at like 80 or something like that. when the full moon hit, I think. So I wondered if maybe the moon has that, like you said, that undulating motion of decrease and increase, like waxing and waning. Maybe there's an effect there that can be subtly observed. Because I know in Appalachia here, because we put fence in and stuff, and it's always said that like if you dig a hole when it's waning, you'll have less dirt than you started with, so you can't fill the hole back up. And if you do it when the moon is waxing, you'll have more dirt. So, but there's a lot of other things like cutting your hair is the same way. For instance, it'll grow slower or faster if you do it waning or waxing respectively. But I was just curious, is there something there, or does that maybe relate to the dragon Kedu or anyway?
I just want to shout out, obviously, Trenorist, what's up, homie? Appreciate you on the timeline. Frau Blocher, my favorite. I will say you and Tom Wills, well, I have other favorite poets, but you and Tom Wills are my favorite Twitter poets, for sure. 100%, no question about it. Blows everyone else out of the water. I feel like we ride the same vibe. So thank you, Frau Blocher, and thank you, Trenorist, for coming. I just want to shout out Eros up. Eros is a great content creator. We're just recently becoming friends, which is great. And I think that actually we did that in Discursive Fire, and that was really great. And Matt and Joshua saw, like, you can have minor disagreements with someone, be super respectful, not scream at each other, and just like talk it out. And I think that's great. That's what it should be. That's what content creation should also be. It should be like, yeah, you're going to test your ideas against each other, because that's really the only way to test your ideas. Like, yes, as Solar was saying, you have to make the things into practicality. I agree. And like the thing that you said, Joshua, about like muscle, like the whole thing about working out, like I've been hitting the cardio, so I do feel a little called out, to be honest. But it's fine. I like cardio, but I actually do like what's it called, like the Ironman training. Like I carry like a backpack. I have hand weights, like leg weights, like one of those like Rock Lee. That's what it is. It's Rock Lee from Naruto. So yeah, I find like lifting and all that stuff, I find it really boring. I'm just telling you, I just find it really boring. I'm not like a weightlifter. I'm like I'll hit the bag. You want to go? You want to do Wing Chun? You want to do some sea lot? We can do that. It's fun. But I don't love I really don't like lift. But I will I'll do like dumbbells and like kettlebells and stuff. I don't mind that, but yeah, I agree. That's what the wind horse is. Not wind horse, excuse me. Fire horse. That's what it is. It's about the physicality of the year. It's very martial. It's very aramonic. Not bad. Just it is aramonic. So yeah, I do think that this is like a good year for physicality, for physical health, and for like taking care of where the mind palace arises, which is perhaps the temple that is the body. So, anyways, Mike, please go ahead.
Sure. I would love to comment on both what you're talking about and Joshua. And I guess first, as you were talking about, like with the exercising thing and what Solar was talking about, and I feel like physical exercise is one of the best like analogies for just understanding how to like learn anything, because you really have to go so consistently to make any type of results. Like you need like equipment, like helps, and I think when you're trying to understand how to go further in certain disciplines, like if you can relate it to exercising, it's like how do I get better at this? Okay, I have to do the same thing that I'm doing for exercising, and you see like very clear physical results with that. So I always like thinking about it that way. But Joshua, I'm glad you mentioned that stuff, because I love talking about this. This is like my favorite topic, and I don't really even talk about this stuff that more, because I feel like it's just become it's become so like common to me in terms of like the moon cycles, because I've been that's actually one of the first things that I just learning about how to trade markets. I'm not like a day trader or anything like that, but I remember I noticed that the market moved with the moon. Like what the fuck is going on? And then there's moon indicators on like major trading platforms. Like it's really not like a big secret, actually. A lot of people but I mean, when I first found it, I didn't know. And but a lot of people do use the moon to like make trades, and it moves very closely with the moon. And especially you see it with eclipses. especially lunar eclipses. And like the more powerful an eclipse, the more it will affect the market. So like lunar eclipses that are like full lunar total eclipse will fucking tank the market and will put everybody in like make everybody feel like shit. And that's what happened last year. Actually, there was 2 full total lunar eclipses, and both times it fucking tanked the market and it made everyone like fucking zombies. It's literally like a meteor hits and then everyone's like, oh, what happened? And it's the eclipse. Right now it's not, I don't think this is astrology, but like last year was like really rough for just astrology. And then the other like major thing is like Mercury. Like Mercury is like the way that Mercury moves is like very closely tied to the market. And those are the 2 major things when you're trying to time using astrology, the moon and Mercury.
No, that was great, Mike. Thank you so much. I think this has a lot to do with Rahu Ketu. So it's interesting that Eros, thank you so much, Eros. We really appreciate that you showed some love to the Grey Lodge because, you know, we are only a small show and, but we are kind of popular with like a quote unquote the right people on Twitter. But, you know, that's always a precarious thing. But thank you so much. It really means a lot. And we're obviously in the occult rejects nebula together. So I, you know, whatever support we can offer each other, like, I would do the same for you. So thank you so much. Appreciate that. And of course, what Mike is saying is fundamentally a Rahu Ketu thing, which is why I think it's funny that Eros is here because this is a lot of what we spoke about the other day. And I think it also has to do with the physical and the subtle body. So the market is really ruled by Rahu if you're thinking commodities. But if you're thinking like crypto and the things that are digital, that's ruled by Ketu. So I think that's really interesting. And I also think that like the physical body is ruled by Rahu, of course. But you could also say like the internal strength, the internal potentiality is ruled by Ketu. So there is that kind of potential to have explosive strength come out of someone who doesn't look explosively strong. Which if you follow Muay Thai, which I do, well, I don't follow it per se, but I come from a long line of Lethway and Muay Thai and Silat enjoyers, to be honest, as some of you know. And so I'm always up to watch kickboxing because I really like it and I think it's technical, but like it's artistic enough that I like it. So, you know, sometimes the little guys have a lot of power. I'm not a little guy. I don't think that. But I mean little as in I'm not short. I'm not a short king, as I often say. But you know, yeah. So the short kings sometimes do have explosive power, and so that is actually ruled by Ketu. So I just want to say that, like, sometimes, yes, the outer appearance, muscle, all that, okay, great. But I'm not a Nietzschean vitalist. Like, let's be very clear. I don't. Anyone who follows me knows that I do not like body aesthetic posts because I don't really believe in that. Like, I just think like do as I will, and you know, we'll talk about Aeonic concepts and like these kinds of things that I think are generative, which is one of our keywords, especially I think that we all sort of focus on a lot. We try and talk about generative things rather than like black pill. We're always an anti-black pill group. And the other thing is like, yeah, sometimes even Jin black pills. Yeah, sometimes I do. Especially last year, especially when we were going through our trials and tribulations. And that's just the microcosm because you're all going through, as Mike said, like the astrology of the year of the snake in a dragon year, that's kind of fucking wild to have eclipses and this and that. Like that all plays, that's all chaotic not temple of set, excuse me, tunnel of set energy. So we have to navigate that. It was really hard. Now we're in the fire horse. If you want to liken it to a Buddhist god or Buddhist deity, not a god, but a deity, Hayagriva. Hayagriva conquers the serpent with his Aramonic Vajra roar, hung hung nay. That's what they say. So you have to conquer it with your speech. But what is the speech? Speech is sorry, Eros, I'm going to say it, the 3-body problem, the Trikaya. Speech emerges from also right mind and right body. It happens at all three levels at the same time. So he's the king of gross outer speech, but he's also the king of secret speech. Secret speech is simply that. It's just the meeting of the physicality, so the strength of your, you could say your voice box, but it's actually not. It's referring to the strength of your whole body, your kind of vitality. And then also the sort of consciousness, like where you're at in your consciousness, and like how discerning are the words that you're saying. So I think all of that is important. And I think that Rahu Ketu fundamentally is also about transmutation. Do you let the dragon rule you, or do you tame the dragon? Now, I'm not saying it's easy, but I think that there are some fundamental practices. And one thing Solar did say that I thought was, well, I thought the whole thing was good, but I did feel called out with the cardio. But anyways, that's really neither here nor there. The thing he said was consistency. And so as a rider, as a horse rider, I can tell you that consistency with horses is really important, because horses are very much Sagittarian in nature, and they tend to be skittish. And so you have to seem, even if you don't feel self-assured, you don't have to feel it, but you have to act self-assured. So it kind of teaches you actually that yes, you might not feel it inside, but sometimes you have to put on the face. Women understand this because they wear makeup. I'm just saying, as someone raised by, as you all know from today, we were talking about our parents a little bit, but women understand this because they understand, like, when you're around horses, you have to do the exact same thing. You have to do it with your attitude, your motion, like the way that you're walking, even. Like, you have to be a very hyper aware, but not a neurotic way, because they will sense that too. You have to be very Zen, very Taoist, like very Wu Wei, like very, like, you're just in the flow, in the flux. And so, like the last unicorn, that's a very Aeon of the Fire Horse, or whatever we want to call it. That is, like, that's a very good film to explain that. So you have to treat everything like you have to treat it gently, and also, like, know your own will. Like, sometimes, as you all know, in the new year I started Fudo posting. So I know, yes, I'm a Tibetan Buddhist, but Fudo is actually a Tibetan deity. He just is more popular in Japan. That Tantra is more popular in Japan, but it exists in Sanskrit. That's the whole reason it's a Tantra. But I love Fudo because he is in the immovable one. He is adamantine and immovable. And you're going to say, well, how do you reconcile a fire horse with being adamantine and immovable? Well, in a way, you have to be adamantine when you're on a horse. And you have to be immovable because you have to be the one in control. You have to be iron, sky iron, we'll call it adamantine, sky iron, in your will. It's not about domination. It's about synthesis and rectification. But that also happens inside your own mind, as we always say. So I don't know. I felt like I maybe got way off of Joshua's initial question, or the gold and the silver, but I actually think it plays a lot into it. So Fire Horse is a much more solar year. So I'm not making a market prediction. I'm not saying anything about the markets. I know nothing about money. I know nothing about the market. I'm just saying, if you wanted a Kabbalistic way to look at it, you could say that this particular year is a particularly Tiferatic year, and the planetary metal associated with Tiferet is gold. So I'm just saying that might be an interesting market. But again, where Rahu and Ketu is concerned, Rahu obviously is a silver enjoyer, we shall say, and Ketu is, of course, a gold enjoyer. So just think about that and plan accordingly. Yes, Mike, please go ahead. Or Joshua, whomever.
Well, I was just going to say,
Oh.
Are you saying that the sun is going to go to the moon this year?
Well, it is the Aeon of the Son and the Daughter, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. What how it will play out with the year, the Chinese year of the animal year. And before, well, I think 2021 actually was the year of the ox, and that was a super bullish year. And I thought that was interesting. And I mean, at that time, I was not looking at or paying attention to how that affects anything. And I'm still not like totally sure, because there's so many factors that affect the market. And I would say the cycles are by far the most important. But last year was supposed to be the peak of the cycle, and it was shit. For stocks, it was kind of good actually, but for a lot of things that like the expectations were really underwhelming. It was really, really bad. And I think that the year of the snake may have played a significant role in that. To what extent, I'm not sure, but I think that's interesting. And with the fire horse, there is and just everything you're saying with gold, like that is a very promising asset to get into right now when we're at the end of the cycle of like the saculum right now. And I think what we're seeing on some level is almost a complete reset in the value of money. And it has to happen at some point because money's like things are getting too expensive. Things at some point reset and then they become more affordable. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens in like I mean, I think the way it happens is like things just kind of crash everywhere and then prices lower and then things just become more cheap and then that becomes the new like psychological value for different things. And we're seeing these different markets crash everywhere, like with housing market, like crypto crash already. Stock market is really, really high and is like bound to crash soon. But I think 2026 will be interesting um because it's the fire horse and because there's some other things happening. There's just so many uh aspects to it. But also like Trump was talking about like doing stuff with crypto, making like America like the crypto capital and like changing the financial system. Like there's a lot going on. So, but I think what you're saying, Jin, with gold, like that's very, very promising right now. People want to preserve the value of their money.
Look, we're moving into crypto. Whether we want to or not, that's what's happening. But there will always be value in precious metals. It's retarded not to think so. I'm sorry to speak so plainly. But it really is. That will always be a commodity, regardless. It's used in all of our technologies. It's a finite resource, and we don't even have access to all the reserves. So I just think it's a great place to be. Sochki, obviously, and I are good friends. And so he loves to talk about Silver Age. We're in a Silver Age. If you want what the Aeon of the Daughter is, the Aeon of the Daughter is the Silver Age. But that doesn't negate the sun, as we've always said, right? Like if you're using pure Aeonic concepts, it's the Aeon of the Daughter, but it's also the Aeon of the Sun. Co-synchronous. Crowley was right in that. And I don't even really like Crowley's writing. I find it convoluted and overly wrought. But I'm just saying that, and I don't even really like his formulation for the sun's Kabbalah, as we've talked about many times. So it's not really a surprise to anyone. But I think I'm a better Kabbalist, to be honest. But I digress. I think but I think that what my response was interesting in saying that it's speculative because we don't really know what is space. I know we were talking about this in the chat today a little, but like all astronomy, all astrology, all history, as we've always said, there's an element of it that is speculative. That doesn't mean it's not real, right? It just means that it's speculative in like the assumptions of the people around it and the assumptions of the people who read it. That means us. And so the example I always gave when we would have spaces on speculative history, which of course we have dozens, is that now I forgot what I was going to say. Anyways, the point is like when you look at speculative history, it's all speculative. It's what religion is the kings. Like that's what we were saying for a while. We were kind of barring that. We were saying like, "Whoa, we was kings." Like everyone says that, right? Like Indians say that about the Vedas. Like there's so many. It's like like the Jays say that about that, and the M's say that about the other thing. And who the fuck cares? Like I don't really care. I'm not gonna fight their battles for them. That's how I feel about it. So I feel like what we have to control is in front of us and around us and inside of us. And so that's where we focus. We have gold and silver inside of us. Gold and silver is obviously maybe the two most important Kabbalistic concepts at Yesod and Tiferet. I didn't say it properly. It's Tiferet and Yesod because I said gold and silver. But I understood. I was just making sure that anyone listening to this is not going to be like, oh, Jin's reversing them. No, I am not reversing the poles. I am keeping them pristine and in dialectical relation, which is much more like a Vajra. If you want the truth, it's much more like a figure eight. You can look at a magician card, very similar idea, an infinity symbol, but that's also a Vajra, right? So you want to keep those things in dialectical synthesis. So I do think this is a good year for precious metals, but I don't think, even if we are in the Satya Yuga, like Trump's talking about the golden age, which is so theosophical, so funny. I'm not against it. Like, if enough people believe it, we are. In a way, right? If enough people believe something, it becomes real. So even that is signaling a kind of gold as value. So, but yeah, we are moving into a more Katuvian, more crypto, more market-oriented financial future. Now, do I think it's the worst? No, I don't know. Maybe it will be the death knell. Maybe it will be the final crack in the tunnel. No pun. But I don't know. I don't know if I really cannot make a prediction, but I will say, like, last year we made a lot of predictions, and I would say like 95% of them came true. But they weren't really. They were just based on Aeonic ideas using Kabbalah. So we wisdom science that shit in order to sort of make calculated judgments on what may happen speculatively, and most of the things did actually come to fruition, including the renewed discourse around Greenland and Canada. Now, you might say that it's all bullshit, and that's fine. It is always speculative, as I was saying. All history, all politics is totally theatrical, speculative, weird, bullshit. Okay. But let's just say that there is that one layer, one body problem. Let's say that one layer of reality, at least, it's real. That is kind of interesting, because we did say that that was going to happen. And we also said that there was a potentiality or an idea of uniting the turtle, which, of course, as we've talked about, is not about some fucking like Sky Woman story from 1,000 years ago. The turtle is fundamentally the connections between the nodes, between the ipsos. Like, if you look at a turtle's back, it's a Kabbalistic tree, but it's expanded. And it's also the world, and it's also ourselves, because that is also what the tree is. So, yes, I have more quote unquote anarchistic KO leanings. Everybody knows, it's no secret. I've never kept it a secret. I am personally a little more conservative in my personal life. I've always said that too. I've never said anything else. And I've never said you have to be a ball cell in the mountains. No, I've never said that. But I do think that perhaps there is a kind of liberatory element to uniting the continent. Whether you call that manifest destiny, or you just say that's part of the aeon. I personally think it's part of the aeon. Or you can say Jin's just a really selfish person. He has obviously selfish reasons for wanting the two poles to unite. No pun. And so he wants, like, he's like an accelerationist, and he's like trying to unite the systems. But honestly, it makes sense. If you live on one continent that is a turtle's back, can you really divide the turtle by any other means? No, it's all ideological. So let's get rid of ideological fetters and, like, live free, not die young. I always thought I was going to die young, actually. It's kind of weird. I know a lot of people on Twitter talk about this, like all the BPD girls. But it's true. Like, I just was like, I was never a BPD girl. Okay, let's be clear. But I'm just saying that I think a lot of people who are a little wilder in their consciousness, they also think of these things. So I also thought of those things. I thought, oh, I'm out of here by 40. Like, it's over for me. It's over for an unk. But I think that there are different ways to reconcile all the things that come into your life, like your Marga unfolds. We said this the other day with Eros, Matt, and Joshua, Nick and Judith, and Headless, and like the Marga unfolds like and Ethan, and sorry, Ethan, and the Marga unfolds like a flower. And so my life has also unfolded like a flower, and there's been times of constriction and like outgrowth. Like, I think that makes a lot of sense to what Matt talks about like Zimzum. So, anyways, I know that was kind of a Jin rant. Sorry, mic drop. Okay, Mike, please go ahead.
Sure, you talked about so many things. I don't even know where to start. I was just, you mentioned something. Well, we were talking about, you were speculating on the nature of crypto. I think crypto has a lot of bad feelings about it because it's typically seen as degenerative. It's a lot of degenerate shenanigans going on in the crypto areas, and it has kept a lot of people away from it. And could it degenerate the rest of, I don't know, the world as it's accepted? It's possible, but I do think that with things in the market generally, not just crypto, they go through these different cycles which flow back and forth between value and growth. And value and growth are somewhat symbolic in many ways. They're different, like they're different parts of the cycle. It's almost like yin and yang. And value is yin, and it's more conservative, and it's more about, things that are doing something and are have, something to show for it. Like they have uh like a business that's making this much money per year, and they have this many customers, as opposed to like growth, where it's like there's something that's like trendy, and then everyone's just like jumping on it. So like you have like the internet boom, and I don't know, everyone's buying like .com domains. They're just speculating on these different things. Or um like recently with like AI and crypto, just is, has been like this big growth cycle for a while. It's been like very yang, and yang is like really gets fucking crazy. And it's very like tulip frenzy, and it can be very degenerative, and that's really what takes us down like the cycle, and then takes us back towards like resets the cycle where things like start to heal again. But I do think that, I don't know, I think it's just kind of neutral, but I think it will do both. But I think where we are right now with it is it's being more it's changed a lot, where things are becoming more conservative. They're not as crazy as they were. Like the things that were supported before are not being supported now, because they took it to the extreme. And that's really how all cycles work, where um, it everything just gets milked dry until there's nothing left to milk, and then it just dies, and then something else has to happen that everybody turns on it. And I think you also are kind of seeing this with trading cards right now. I don't know if anybody's paying attention to that. I'm not like deep into it, but there's a lot of energy around that stuff, and it's not going to last forever. And if you ever see people getting crazy and then everybody's talking about it, like, you're at the top, and that's in whatever sphere. um and you should probably like start planning how to get out and not try to like get too sucked into it, because things are going to tear down.
So, okay, all that was great, Mike. I'm gonna hyper focus, like I always do, very chaos magic, on one point: degeneration. Sure, crypto in its phase for the last 10 years, you could say, is a very weird libertarian space. But I think this actually speaks to your other point about how there's a dialectical nature to all politics. This is a libertarian win, actually. But the crypto in general might be a libertarian L, so we'll get there, I promise. So all things that arise in politics are just a game. That's how you have to think of it. Just a dialectical game, just a logic game, just a Kabbalah game. And the outcomes, probably we aren't necessarily deciding them through conventional democratic means. But we can control one thing: our own perceptions. And so my thing is, who gives a fuck? Like, I'm not going to live in a degenerated way. I want to live generatively. I want to live in generation. That's why I started gardening. That's why I'm not talking about gardening to feed myself. I'm saying that, yeah, I obviously, anyone in the group chat also knows that I do garden for food, but not to feed myself, because it's almost impossible to just eat pumpkins. Anyways, but I mean, I know people did in the past, but like it's 2026. Like, I need coffee. I'm sorry. Like, I just do. So that is what it is. So yeah, I think that you have to live in generative ways. Generation means doing. Generation means, yes, working out. It means all of those things. All of those things mean, that's what it means. You have to be generative in your life. Like, that is something that I find challenging. I don't really find the physicality challenging because obviously I live on a farm and I do things every day, whether it's like super like athlete, like what's that called? Like that thing that they do, the training thing where people go CrossFit. When people go do CrossFit, like I try and incorporate CrossFit things into my day, but it's not like I don't want to look like a retard in front of the neighbors either. So, like only when I'm in the barn can I really do such things. Anyways, the point is yes, you have to live generatively in the best way that you can, and yes, lay ideas, groundwork, path working, right? Because not all of us are left hand path, right? Like some of us are very middle pillar, like me. So we're gonna call it path working because that's what we're doing, and that's what we're doing in this space. We're path working for the Aeon, so we can all get to path 22 if we so desire, if you so choose, up to you. But I think that it would be generative for all of us to get there because that would be the completion of the tree. Obviously, there are secret paths, but actually, you cross them anyway if you understand. Like the Kabbalah is not fixed. Like Matt has really pushed this on me, and I was hesitant, and I was traditionalist. But then, and even though I've had Sephirotic experiences, and I knew, even though you can't prove it necessarily to other people, I knew that it wasn't fixed. I knew that we could rebuild the paths and that we must do, as you've heard me say 10 million times, 100 million times, 108 million times, 110 million times. So I knew we had to be the path workers. That's what the Aeon is really about. We have to be the builders of the next Aeon, the golden age, you want to call it. So that's why it's also so important we don't black pill. That's also why it's so important we actually understand the dragon fundamentally. And if we have to take the dragon out of my very like trad Buddhist conception, that's fine. That's totally fine. You want to do like a more updated Kenneth Grant version, or you want to do a more Hellenic, you want Eros to do like a Hellenic version, that's fine. You want to do like an Egyptian kind of like Set Typhon thing, okay. What kind of story do you want? But I think the Rahu Ketu thing is uniquely interesting because he is a unified deity, and he's also the deity in Buddhism, and he's also the deity of astrological magic. So he is the secondary god of all the gods who can deal with all astrological problems. Now, he is not the primary deity of astrological remediation. He doesn't necessarily fix. So take of that as you will. Hopefully, you don't do anything weird or sicko. Okay. But there is actually a higher force, a higher wisdom, a Maha Vidya. I know all of you are like, oh, Jin, we're so tired of hearing about this groundbreaking series that you did 3 years ago on the Mahavijja and the Kabbalah. Okay. Well, it's still a big deal. So it's still a big deal to me. So there's a Mahavijja, which I did not discuss in that series, who is called Maritzi. Maritzi. So if you understand like the Avestan sort of etymology, it's actually it's the same word as Mithras. They have the same root. So you could say that she's a Mithraic goddess. And obviously Buddhism supports this, and all of her kinds of signs and symbols relate to this very much. And she's also associated with the Little Dipper and the Pleiades and the Seven Mothers. She's the ninth. She's the daughter. Secret, hidden. The Zoe, if you want to say. Not the Nuria, the Zoe. So, anyways, the life force. You could say the life force of the world. But she's also the goddess, or not the goddess. She's actually a Mahavijja, meaning she's the greater, the supernal star above all the stars and planets. So she is actually the Vidya of astrological disease, astrological problems. So if you are interested, I'm not saying you have to do anything. You can go read the Dharani, which is the longer form prayer of her, and that would be a good daily practice if you're interested. Just if you're interested. But yeah, if you're going to commit to doing it, do something. And so I know that a lot of people are very concerned about astrological cycles. I am also, because astrology affects us all, right? But you have to be stable, as we said in the very beginning. You have to be stable in your own mind so you can ride out any astrological problems as they arise. You cannot just be, this is my big problem with Astro Twitter. As you all know, they go way too wild with the wave, and they're like, woo, we're going on eclipse, like everything's falling down, like Babylon's dying. You can't do that. That's not wisdom science. That becomes, what does that become? That becomes something very hysterical, not wisdom science. Wisdom science is of the Magi. So if you want to be of the Magi, then you have to at least, at first principle, cultivate a stable mind. That does not, you think I don't get depressed and that I don't have problems and I don't have things? Of course I do. Everybody knows I'm wild. I ride the polarities, no pun, and things happen. And I am not good at staying at Yesod. And if you follow Sachki, I love Sachki very much as my brother, but Sachki's not good at staying at Yesod either, to be honest. And so I've learned that it's probably better that I'm more dynamic and embrace those kinds of qualities of dynamism. And I'm not saying that anyone should do that as well, but I do think it's actually a lot more useful. And so if you have problems where you'd find the astrology is very affecting you mentally, spiritually, or physically, start with your mind. There's a Dharani you can do, which is an astrological spell. Yes, it's a spell. A Dharani is a spell, but it's like more like a psalm. But it's very long. Not very long. It's like a page. And there's a mantra, and you recite it. You recite it as many times as you can. Hopefully, you recite it 10 times, 108. So you recite it 1,008 times a day. That would be the optimum. And before you ask, yes, I do. And yes, I do a lot more mantras than that. You think I don't pray for everyone in the lodge? Oh, yeah. You think I don't pray for myself 100 times more? Yeah. So that's the reality. Is like you have to be using those, like we've always said, it's an aeon of psychic youth, but it's also an aeon of the Magi. So you better be using some of those tools that we always talk about. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. You think there are days I haven't skipped, especially last year? Oh yeah. But I will tell you the astrological problems magnified 100 times more. 100 times more. The more stable you are in your mind, the less affected, and also the less the more potential you will have to remediate things as they arise, because you won't be in fear, you won't be in a corner. And sometimes that is good. So I want to say that too. Sometimes having the pressures, the externalities be against you, the polarity against you, can actually be something really useful. It can really it can really be an imperative. It can be an impulse to transform the polarity into something generative. That's why I always say, like, it's not about, like, we don't focus on decay, we focus on generation. But sometimes in generation you have to turn the polarity around. When you turn the polarity around, sometimes that may seem appear, not is, transgressive or in decay. That's not what it means. And I'm not saying to anyone do anything sicko, weird, like, I'm not talking about sex magic, like everyone knows. Just to be clear though, that yeah, sometimes it will not appear as you first thought it did. So I just want to say that. Okay, yes, Mike, I'm sorry, Mike and Matt, both. Whoever wants to go first, go first.
Matt can go first.
Okay, Matt, go first.
Yes, I just want to add to what you said about the astrology thing. It's funny because some would say we have even on the DNA to like go after things that control us, right? So people would do that the same with astrology. So instead of using it as a tool to liberate yourself, to grow, to transcend, and so on, it becomes another. Everything will go bad because astrology is saying, or I'm bound to be stubborn because astrology says it, and so on. So that's not astrology. That's bullshit. You don't need astrology to say that. You can just say that. Just be honest. Yeah, I'm fucking stubborn. Okay, you don't need you don't need another thing outside of you to say that. So what again astrology should help you with, and other tools, the thing is to make you perceive, first of all, to give you clarity, just like when you look outside and you see, oh, it's dark, or oh, it's light, or it's raining, or it's sunny, whatever. It's just, again, first for the perception. And then you do the best that you can with the tools that you have. For example, if it's rainy, you're going to do what you can do, right? If it's rainy, maybe it's not the best to do some stuff, but maybe you can do them anyway and see how it goes when it's raining. Like going for a walk, taking a rain shower or a rain bath. Or I don't know how to say it in English, but it doesn't matter.
Are you reading my mind, Matt?
So-
Because I did that yesterday. I went riding in
See?
the rain. And it was really hailing, if you want the truth.
See?
It was hailing, but I still went.
Exactly. That's the idea. It's purifying, but you can only know it after you test it as well. So that's why you gotta treat it as an experiment for yourself, not like a crazy scientist left brain experiment, but like just to test it out. The same with tarot, numerology, whatever other Kabbalah, Tantra, whatever you want to do. Like, sure, there's the basis of stuff, the foundation. You cannot go extremely crazy without first understanding what's up. But then, again, the tree is in flux. Don't be bound by it. And the more you adapt this to yourself, because all technology is from within. You look inside, you see how it works, you externalize. We are basically doing telepathy now, all of us here, just because somebody understood, oh, okay, we can do telepathy. How can we make sure other people can do this more easily? And then get their data as well, obviously, right? It's very valuable. But anyways, so it's what we're doing right now. And we, in theory, if we had the time to practice and whatever, we could do what we're doing here on X without it. So the point is, everything is already within. So just go within. There's everything there. I know it's cliche to say it, but it's really the only way to get unstuck out of the loop. Don't be crazy running around in circles and doing the same stuff over and over and over. I know when the year passes, it's easy to say like, oh, we'll change and whatever, but keep it up. Don't just say it. But keep the change. Do the stuff that you are planning to do. Enjoy that energy of changing, which even if the calendar is fake anyway, there's the egregore of the change, right? We do a whole ritual. Everyone does a freaking ritual on the New Year. So even if the calendar is fake, the energy is there. So enjoy that.
That was so great, Matt. And I do want Mike to go, but I'm going to let Eros go. Sorry, Mike. I'm going to let Eros go because she's like first time in the space. Okay, thank you so much. Eros, please go ahead.
Oh my gosh. I'm nervous. I don't know any of you, but I do know Matt. I know Jin. Hello. Anyway, I just love this conversation because it is so true. Like, sometimes I feel like people, are like over the top about the astrology stuff for like views and clicks, like doomsday transit. But like there is like also that discourse that like divination is like dangerous, and like it certainly can be, like if your mind isn't strong enough for it. Like I think some people look at upcoming transits and they like freak out and get scared. But I'm like very pro negative transits even, because like I just find in my life like a square transit, like a harsh square, isn't always going to be negative. Like I see it like almost like say you have or even worse, Saturn squaring Mars. And like if you've cultivated those areas of your chart, I almost see it like there's these two trees and a string between them, and like that transit is like shaking the two trees. And like if your trees have fruit on them, then fruit will fall off. Like actually those transits can be quite beneficial. But if you haven't cultivated those areas of your chart, for example, like you might lose branches, you know, your tree might fall apart a little bit. But I don't know, I think also like you can't be scared of suffering. Like at the end of the day, harsh transits like Pluto transits, like Pluto squaring your moon or something like that, like, you know, those transits can be rough, but ultimately, like, at the end of the day, they're kind of a blessing because you gain resilience, they purify you, there are benefits to it, and you just can't always be scared of suffering.
Everything that Arrow said, I 100% agree with. I think it's a super important principle. Don't be scared of the negative transits. Look at it as an alchemical opportunity, a transmutational working that you can actually enact in yourself, in your daily life. That's why it's even with Jyotisha, it's not just about the practicalities of the remedies like feeding the crows. No, there has to be like a conscious process where you're like actually recognizing something Saturnian in that act. So that's really what it's about. It's not necessarily about the act itself. Of course, the act is something. But anyways, I want to say Eros did a great job. Thank you so much. Don't be nervous. We are legit the nicest space, the nicest group on the internet. No question about it. We are the most wholesome chunguses and foids, obviously in the multiverse that is X. We definitely are. We all care about each other. We like each other a lot. We generally don't fight, and when we do, we just have a little discourse and then we figure it out for the most part. So, yeah, I'm glad to have you. I'm glad to see Leo and Leo at the bottom. And well, he's not at the bottom, but he on the screen, he appears lower to me. I didn't mean it like that. Sorry, Leo. But Leo, thank you so much coming all the way from Ireland. We appreciate you, my Hapaborean brother. And John, of course, Ihaye, Asher, Ihaye, I am who I am. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you, both of you in the Grey Lodge. So many lodges tonight. It's great. And if anyone does want, if we are mutuals, like obviously we have to be mutuals, but if you would like an invitation to the Grey Lodge, that is fine. Just send me a DM. I'm not really into going into people's DMs. That is like everyone who's in the lodge knows this about me. I'm very reticent to be like friendly, and it's not because I'm not friendly. It's just because I don't want to ever, come across in a way that is overtly friendly. So if you do, you can message me or Matt or Joshua or Solar. Solar loves a DM. So that's an option. Matt loves a DM. So there you go. You have and Mike. I'm sure Mike would take a DM if they were mutuals with all of us. Yeah, I think Mike would be cool with it. So, yeah, do that. And of course, yeah, I think that 100%. Everything's a transmutational opportunity. You have to make of it what you will. You have to make of your life what you will. And like, yeah, you should use the negative transits. I think that's such an important thing. Like, you should surf the negative transit to just not only survive, but to also like figure out what that blockage, what that obstacle that negative transit either forced into appearance or removed. Sometimes negative transits, because it's all very dependent on your personal chart in a way, right? And I want to say the other thing that Arrow said is about like divination. I'm not anti-divination. I've never been anti. I'm not saying Arrow said that. She didn't. I'm saying that for anyone listening, because we do get a lot of listen backs on an X. But please also subscribe to our YouTube. We really could. we love the support on there. But I know we get a lot of listens mostly on X. So yeah. Divination is not a tool, though, to discern your every movement in the universe. Divination is a much greater tool that should be respected, like Matt's doing with his 72 weeks of tarot experiment. That's much more interesting to me. Now, if you want to use a tarot or a wisdom cards or any of that, and you need to do that, that's fine. But there is also a reason why women. I'm not saying that women have to do anything. Okay, you know that I'm not like that. What I'm saying is that there's a reason why women often serve as conduits for that, simply for the very simple Sephirotic reason that women are more empty because they have a womb. So they're more able to generate the capacity to be in touch with the cycle. That does not mean men are never mediums, it just means men are very rarely mediums. But it doesn't mean men can't be psychic, and it doesn't mean we can't cultivate it as well. Of course you can. It's about free will and your choices. For me, I don't really want to cultivate extraneous psychic powers simply because I'm constantly told that I'm appearing in people's dreams. And I do not mean that in a sexual way. And I do not mean that in an intentional way. I do not mean to appear in people's dreams. I do not remember those dreams. I do not have them. I never tell any of you if that happens or it doesn't. It's like very like, whoa, like very psychedelic. I don't like that. But I understand that we spend a lot of time together online, so it may happen. I understand that that is just the reality. And also, you do hear me speak for several hours a week. And if you care about, you don't have to care about what I say. I've always said that, like very, do as thou will. But if you do like me in the sense that like you're listening and you're like, actually, Jin's good, because I kind of think I'm good sometimes. And so, it's you're keeping me in your mind. You're in. So that is also why I'm appearing in your dreams rather than my own psychic potential. I'm appearing because that is a vehicle that you're used to hearing speak about certain concepts, Kabbalistic concepts. So I could understand how your subconscious would make my avatar or my PFP and my voice maybe appear to relay those same Kabbalistic or related or generative kinds of ideas. I can understand that, but I'm really not dream walking. I really don't do that. Okay, so just for the record, but I'm just saying I understand that. Okay. Anyways, I'm sorry. Okay, Matt, Joshua, Mike. Mike, did you go already? I'm so sorry.
No, I didn't.
Okay,
but
Mike, please go. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
Please go. Yeah, please go.
Yeah, so Jen, that was great. There's a lot to say about that, and I was like, I was thinking about everything you guys are saying, and Eros and Matt as well, and first I just want to talk about with like the divination stuff, and I mean, people who are more sensitive tend towards these things because your emotions and your intuition are the tools that you need to accurately discover messages. You can, like, part of it is remembering the symbols and like the meanings of the symbols. But once you get to an advanced level, you're basically just straight channeling, and it's purely through your emotions and your intuition. And the messages, like, you can see like the King of Pentacles, it can mean, or the devil, and it can mean drastically different things based on how your emotions feel, and like someone could be stubborn if they're the King of Pentacles, or they could be rich. Like, those are two drastically different significations, and there's no way you can tell. Like, when you're looking at any type of like symbolic stuff, it's literally designed to be unreadable to anybody but the person who was like designed to read that information. And astrology is just similar, where the people that are into astrology, mostly women typically, is because I think anyone who gravitates towards these things is more sensitive, and it's cool. I mean, people get into it because it's like trendy, but I think also it's somewhat of a practical tool because people want to, know what is going on. I've gotten into certain things because I'm like, okay, why the fuck do I feel this way right now? And sometimes, like, I really appreciate Jin's like grounded approaches with, like, you can't get too caught up in what is happening, what everyone's saying, because honestly, they're fucking wrong a lot most of the time. I don't know. I remember when Jupiter was entering Cancer and everyone was like, oh, Jupiter's Cancer, it's super lucky. Literally, shit was so bad Like, and a few days after, it was like right when Jupiter went to Cancer, it was like horrific, and like everybody was pissed off, and it was because it was like there was like it was like the midpoint of the eclipse, and there was like a like a really fucked up kite. Like there was so much shit, but everyone was wrong. And what I think is nice when it comes to this stuff is not to necessarily, I mean, with certain things, it's good to anticipate like eclipses because they're so strong. But like personally, that's the only thing I'm like really anticipating. Anything else, like if I feel like it could be more of like a diagnostic tool if you're really trying to figure out like why did this just come up, and then you look, and then it's like, and then it helps because if you can know why this emotion is suddenly arising, it really does like help you squash it real fast. Um, but I never like there's so much information coming from astrology. I think it's so hard to really anticipate everything and like really prepare for everything. Like I'm not, I mean, personally, I'm not doing that.
No, that was all everything you said, Mike, was great. The reason I ride so hard for the like pragmatic materialism is okay. So there are two reasons. A, I'm gonna get in shit if I don't. Solar's gonna get me a DM being like, "You're not being pragmatic. You're not being." Well, he doesn't say it like that, but it's like kind of like you're in trouble. And you know that I'm sensitive to things like that. So that is one. That's like it's a very secondary reason. That's more of a bit. Okay. But the real reason is because everybody swings so hard to the supernaturalism. I am not anti spirit. I am not anti God. I am not anti theistic. I am not anti. If you want to be a motherfucking pagan, be a motherfucking pagan. I have no. Legitimately, like, Gaia bless you. If that's what you want to do, if that is your free will, if that's the choice you make, then go do that. I don't want to. I don't really want to hear about it, and I don't necessarily want to discourse with you on like theological topics simply because I have a very different non-theistic. I'm a Buddhist. Ori Indians, definitely not happening. Like, yes, we're a little more kumbaya than we used to be a year ago, but I'm never like. You think I'm gonna worship Vishnu? No, I'm not gonna worship Vishnu or Indra or Sakya or any of them. Okay. I'm a rebel Buddhist. So that's all you need to know about that. But I'm just saying, like, God's bless you. If that's what you want to do, go do that. Like, I am not putting fetters or blinds or anything on anyone. But what I will say is the reason I ride so hard for the anti-supernaturalist approach is simply because I use those things as a rhetorical position to pull back the reins of where I think people are going way off like this is way beyond reservation. Like they are taking over Montana, Idaho, and like whatever, Arkansas. I know Arkansas is not even in the same region, but it sounded cool. But the reality is like you have to moderate yourself a little. And so if I have to be the mean boy, the mean guy, the voice of saying like, yo, calm down a little bit, like let's maybe look at like let's look at Neoplatonism, let's look at the other things where they're talking about like the deities as numbers or as logos or as conceptual words or Kabbalistic ideas. Let's look at it more like that, because I just think that is under people's control. And as we always say in the group, like literally every day, ontology is conquers everything. So but some people are meant to stay at the cosmological. Some people are meant to stay at the ideological. That does not make them lesser. That does not make them more retarded or anything. But what it does make them is perhaps more limited in their views of the multiverse or of the world. So I would just say that, like, sometimes I will say it doesn't mean that I don't mean it. Yes, I do mean it for myself. I'm non-theistic. That is, that's Jin's appraisal. But do I believe in God? I know God is real because I know the tree is real. So it doesn't have to be like a thing where I'm like, oh, like I'm mad at daddy. No, I'm not. And I've always said that. I'm not mad at daddy, and I'm not mad at mummy wisdom either, to be honest. But I also consider myself part of the new aeon, the aeon of sons and daughters, of which I am. And so my practices maybe even deity practices, as I often get teased about. Yes, I do practice Buddhist deities that are of the son and daughter, 100%, because I believed in what I said. I believed in the Kabbalistic work we did. I thought it was so profound and so interesting that I was like, I need to figure out what kinds of sadhanas I need to do to bring the conceptual ideas into my own life and forward. And as you all know, I already did Dakini practices, which is where I even got the whole idea for Anne of the Daughter, was through Kurkula, like doing that practice, not through her, doing the practice, right? So, but was missing one. I was missing one the whole time. I was missing the Aeon of the Sun. So how to rectify that? How to bring that back into synthesis? How to bring that back into something that I can incorporate in my life? Because I'm not a Dakini, I'm not a daughter, I'm a son. So the reality is I had to sort of find my will, as we said, the sun represents in many ways. The sun is the will. How do you practice that and put that into implementation? Well, Buddhism does have a very excellent practice for that. Several. And so I'm trying to negotiate that in this new year, the Aeon of the Fire, or the not Aeon of the Fire Horse, sorry, Year of the Fire Horse. And I encourage all of you to do the same. Like, if you are questioning like your paradigm or your worldview, it's a good time to bring in sort of maybe those ideas. And if it has to be Mott, I'm very Mott friendly. Like, probably of all the pagan ideas in the world, Mott is the one that makes the most sense to me, because I have no problem saying it's the Aeon of Mott as well. Okay. Sorry, boys. Joshua, please go ahead. I know Matt's been waiting forever. Super patient. Thank you. Sorry. But Joshua had to come back, so we'll just bring him up. Joshua, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Actually, yeah, I had a thought from a while back, so I'll forgive me for circling back, but I thought it might be worth mentioning. So we're kind of talking about the Gold Age and Silver Age, and when we kind of refer to the Golden Age in like a grand Aeonic historical sense, it kind of reminds me of like the age of Saturn when maybe it was here. I don't know. It's kind of what they refer to, I guess. And so maybe we are in a silver age, right? And so I just wanted to kind of highlight a couple of themes there and why maybe the golden age is kind of more Capricornian, a thing of the past, in other words, whereas now we're moving into this age of Aquarius, which is still ruled by Saturn, though. And so I think there's still similarities. And so I think, yeah, money might take new forms like crypto and stuff, but still going to have gold and silver because Saturn, right? But then also another thing to point out is that silver is consumed, whereas gold is not. Gold, of course, is made into things, but it's not actually consumed in the way that silver is. And when you look at the story of Saturn, he does eat his children, right? Not 9 of the 10, but there's one that does not get eaten, and that's Zeus, the king, Jupiter, right? And so maybe this gold crown kind of concept too kind of relates to the spared child or triumphant child, in a sense. And I did have one more thing to ask. Maybe this is a general question for like Eros and others as well. By the way, we kind of did meet on Nick's stream the other day. I just didn't say much, and was having connection issues. But anyway, the thing I wanted to ask the astrologers in the room was, I kind of started thinking of it all as weather, and so it's kind of like, how do you prepare for a day that it's going to rain or whatever, And so in that way, it took advantage of the fact that it was hailing to ride his horse, right? And so that gave a very unique experience, I'm sure. But anyway, so I started thinking about it that way. And so just how it is like after it rains, however, it's still wet. So I was curious, do astrological weather, as it were, have lingering effects sometime, or effects that precede or retrograde or antrograde in effect, right? Because we often refer to Mercury that way, right? But so is it kind of like a Doppler effect where as sound approaches you, you can't really hear it, but then as it's going away, then you hear it differently. So anyway, that was kind of my question. Thank you. And welcome, Eros. I really appreciated your tree fruit branch stuff. Branch is one of my names I use, so I really appreciated it.
Thank you, Joshua. And I'm going to let Eros come up then. We'll let Mike go. Matt has been waiting forever. Oh, no, Matt. So it'll be Eros, Matt, and Mike. Okay? Is that cool? Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate all your patience, Matt. Eros, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, I think about it like weather too, but, maybe I am more aligned with Mike that way, where I don't think most transits are going to be very significant. Like, I don't track any of the inner planets really. It might be different if there's like a Cazimi, like right now there's a Mars Cazimi. That's a little more significant, but I watch the sun and the outer planets. I find the outer planets to be very significant. So like if an outer planet is transiting one of your inner planets, like, that is more significant because it's generational. It lasts a long time. I even think that them transiting through like the houses are going to mark different phases of your life. Absolutely. Like, how every like 5 years of your life can feel very different from the previous 5 years. I definitely think that's the outer planets. And I think that the sun also has, like, you can definitely feel effects from the sun transiting. Because, like, if you think about it, like, I think it's like close to 90% of our plasma comes from the sun. And so if you have that, like, squaring some of your more important planets, like, I do think that you do feel a little discombobulated or whatever that day. But there are definitely lingering effects to transits, as they separate, you'll still feel the effects. But also, like, for when planets are retrograding, yeah, like, for example, right now, Jupiter is retrograding. And so it's like, it turns something from, and I'm like blanking on the word right now, but from like an like from an external thing to an internal thing. So like instead of luck coming from an external source, it's more like luck is coming from your own introspection and like your action, I guess. Just like if like Pluto is retrograde in your chart, then you would be more introspective and have a lot more transformation from like being introspective rather than like these experiences of exerting power outwards. I guess if that makes sense. I hope so.
Absolutely. I'm not an astrologer, as I always say, but I appreciate everyone's astrological knowledge. And I think that you are a great content creator, and I think you know your shit. So I can't really disagree. Okay, Matt, thank you so much for waiting. Appreciate you. Go ahead, and then Mike will go.
Thanks. So just quickly answering Joshua, there is the thing called, for example, the pre and post shadow that you can think of as this, like, after it rains, it's the wet kind of idea, right? So this is for the retrograde cycle. So I guess that's one example to correlate with that. But what I wanted to talk about was when Eros mentioned the suffering, right? If we go to the root of the word suffering, and we can go back to Latin, for example, can go even further. But if we just stop it in Latin, we'll have sub as in under, and ferre, which is carry, to bear, which would be then you're carrying something from the underneath, or enduring right? You're holding the weight. Or even ferre can be like very similar to ferrum, iron, or even the sulfur from alchemy, right? The flame. And then when we think about the squares, again, the squares in astrology are ruled by the sphere of Gevura, Mars, iron, again. Without the discipline, without the thing running and making us sweat for it, where is the value? Where is the beauty? You know, in the lightning path, you go from Hesed, Jupiter, to Gevura, Mars, to Tiferet, the sun, the beauty, the harmony. Cannot have the harmony, cannot have the synthesis of Hesed and Gevura without Gevura, right? With just Hesed, you don't have it. So you need both. If you want to have a cool body like the boys were talking about, you know, working your body, this one, you need the discipline to go and train. It's not about let me think about when I want to go. No, it's habitual. You just need to freaking go. And some days your body will say, man, come on, let's not do it. Let's do something else. But you have to go anyway. That is, if you want to achieve that. If you don't want to achieve the goal, and then it's whatever, then you don't do it. But that's with anything. And the more you work this aspect of yourself, of the discipline, of the enduring, the more you can take stuff. If you're going up the tree, passing through Gevura is, again, it's the years and years of discipline in something. It's after you reach the black belt. So you reach the black belt in something, and then you start the endurance process of years and years and years. Otherwise, you cannot reach Hesed and start sharing with others everything that you learn. So it's crucial, and it's, when you think about it in the astrology sense, like when you have the squares, you can even think about a square is not a circle. That is, it cannot easily turn. So again, you need the strength to push it, to make it turn. And the more you put the strength, the easier it will circle until it becomes a circle, until it breaks into two trines, for example. And there you have it. What used to be a square, now you have two trines, what Eros was talking about, you know, the fruits that you can bear. So again, it's not fun even. You know, think about it. When you have a game and you're like in the god mode of the game, or like cheat mode or whatever, and you can just get stuff without any pressure, without anything. Like, sure, maybe don't put too much, you know. Also, another translation from, or not another translation, so one of the translations or the etymology from suffering is caring. Don't carry stuff forever. Remember, be in flux. Leave some stuff behind. But you have to carry some stuff. Otherwise, what the heck are you doing here, you know? You're just going to pass through like a ghost. So for the thing to be fun, carry some stuff and leave it. It's going to be nice.
Yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, Matt, you use my favorite metaphor. We're just ghosts on the chrono ground, but like we can actually do something when we're here. We can do something fucking interesting. I really do believe that, and so obviously I 100% agree, and I think that we should all try. Like, we should all try to plant a garden. Like, as I've always said, like, it's the orchard of pomegranates. That's what the Garden of Eden is. The orchard of pomegranates. What are pomegranates? Pomegranates are knowledge. They're death. But it's not the whole pomegranate, right? It's the empty space between the kernel and the pith that doesn't really exist. Star ruby, you could say, because it's the reflection of that red, juicy, whatever that's called, part of the fruit. So, but it's the reflection of it in space, emptiness in space, right? Massless and luminousness. So maybe being a ghost isn't so bad after all, because maybe a ghost can become a boy. Maybe a boy can become a man. And maybe a man can become Diamond Thunder. Well, at least an idea. Yes, Mike, please go ahead.
That was great from all of you, and I wanted to comment specifically on the stuff that Joshua and Matt was talking about, well, and Eros as well. But Matt, with the symbolic connections to how they manifest, it is really interesting, and I didn't really think about that with squares. How it is like hard for a square to to turn, and it does create that type of tension. And with trines, like you have this, it's like a wheel, and it's like spokes in a wheel, and it can turn fluidly. But what I noticed too is like with other types of aspects, and when I first learned about kites, like the way, so a kite is a trine with an opposition, and it creates this type of flow of energy where the energy flows in a particular direction. So you have the trine and the energy is like flowing harmonious between those three bodies, but then you add in this opposition, and then suddenly there's like a tension in that flow, and the energy like shoots up towards the body at the opposition. And it's just interesting to think about it. It's almost like a bow and arrow, where it's the energy is getting like super potent on the body that is sitting in opposition. And the way theoretically it manifests is that that planet, like the tension is released on the planet in opposition, and it's like it's this extremely powerful aspect. Um and Joshua was talking about how effects linger and comparing it to weather. And I would 100% compare astrology to weather. I would say cycles are seasons, and astrology is weather. And the so there's only so many aspects that are so strong that I think you can even really see lingering effects, but there's 100% lingering effects, and you see it. I mean, this is talked about by ancient astrologers, like Ptolemy and stuff, who says that the effects of eclipses last for 6 months. And I don't know if they last that long, but what I do know is that like eclipses like are so powerful when they are like a strong eclipse, especially, and it concentrates certain events at the eclipse point. So interestingly, um, well, one thing in particular, and I feel like whenever I say this, people just don't even believe it, but there was a token called Luna, and it crashed on a lunar eclipse. And this was like a really like large market cap token. Like this was like a big deal back in 2021. And it literally crashed on the day of the lunar eclipse. And then that same year, there was another lunar eclipse, and that's when FTX went bankrupt. And everything came out about FTX on the lunar eclipse on the exact day. Like I sound like I'm wearing a tinfoil hat right now. And I swear to God, if you look it up, like you will see it. And they were the biggest exchange during that time, and that was like a huge like fiasco. And what's interesting is that like the fucking date was on the day, so it's like not just energies, but it's like it concentrated like a series of events that led up to like a specific event. And the only way I can understand this in my mind is that like if you're like looking at like a trampoline and you're like pulling the trampoline down, it's like that's like it creates this like force in like the in space time, and it's like the event is like the pinnacle of that, like the tension of that energy. And there's the eclipse like technically starts way before that actually happens, because you have this slow gradual decline like leading to that eclipse point, and then you have that slow gradual like it's just like a crater, and it doesn't just end there, it lingers.
I'm just struck, honestly, by like our return, like a true return. Like I always say, like we turn. I never do. I mean, sometimes I do return for the, my bars as we call them, for the keynote, for the spaces, obviously. Um, but I just am struck by like how much this is a return to sort of the Aeon of the Daughter framework that we laid out in the very earliest days of the lodge and the spaces. Is how I said like it is on the paths. And every single thing, every fucking thing, like Matt always says, and I always tease him about this, he says, "Oh, the spaces always intersect with my life and my Kabbalah class." Inadvertently, because we don't know, right? We don't share this stuff with each other. So it just happens. And it really does happen. And it happens for me in a big way. I think it happens for all of us. It is so weird, but it is so funny that today is like the true return to the idea of the paths, which is what? Pragmatism, reasoning, logic, rhetoric, bringing things into material reality. not being crazy. That does not mean psychism. Obviously, it's a psychic aeon. But, like, what does that even mean? Do you take everything literal? Do you take everything as real? Think of, like, if the prophets were like, or like, we'll use Cassandra, not her as a person, but Cassandra, the historical figure. You know, she did not enjoy the messages that the deities were sending her. Did not, like, help her life, really. It made it really bad. But that is kind of like what the vibes are as well. That is kind of like we were talking about, like, weather patterns and all of that. Like, I agree that it's very little is pristine in this world. We just came out of the, you know, the true carnal ground. Maybe we just emerged. Maybe we just emerged from the tunnels of Set just very recently. We'll say that. The daughter of breaking Klippas, she broke us the fuck out of there. We're out of the jail, okay? But she didn't defeat the demiurge. We have to do that because it's in our own mind. So, you know, we have to appraise all of this. So I'm really happy that we are discussing this. But about weather, it's so interesting because Rahula, the dragon, Rahu Ketu, we call him Rahula in Buddhism. He is actually the deity of weather. So it's so funny that even he got brought up. And it's so funny that he's been a perennial character for this whole episode. And it's so funny that what Matt said, again, that we have always intersect in such a fundamental way, not only with each other, because that's what we're doing in space. We are fundamentally intersecting our spiritual bodies, our Ketu-like bodies, the people that we project ourselves to be, but there is something fundamentally also about who we are, because you hear the quality of our voices. You hear what we're upset about. We're very honest in the space in general about our feelings, our, like, interactions with each other. I mean, mostly me just, like, being annoyed, if I am, but I'm very rarely annoyed. I think I'm a, you know, baddie with a heart of gold, as you want to, if you want to call it that, as I've often joked about many times, right? That's true. And I've always said that's true. So if you projected your conservative weird things onto me, that's your problem. That's not a me problem, as Matt would say. So, anyways, I just want to say I'm so glad that we sort of came to this point of sort of rectification. That's what this episode has really been about. It's been about that silver. It's purified in the furnace of earth 7 times. Yes, Psalm 12. That's what this is. We're starting out the new year in a very generative way. Because silver will always grow. Like, Sachki's I'm not speaking for Sachki, and I'm not giving advice again. Sachki's very bullish on silver. I just feel like he receives messages. Now, if you want to call that from Hashem or somewhere else, and I'm not saying everything he says is right. I don't think that. And I will say it to his face. But in my opinion, I think there's some things he knows. Like, he has that Sailor Moon access to death. He does. Just like I do sometimes. But I go about it in a little different way than he does. But I do think that the sort of the metals and all of that will be really important. And that's also alchemical, right? So if you want to come all the way down to, like, the fundamental basal level of everything that we've talked about tonight, alchemy. It always comes down to alchemy. Inner, outer, secret. And your own mind. But you can also call that space. So, just like we're doing now. Very interesting. Okay, I'm sorry, Matt. Please go ahead.
That was beautiful. And there was something I wanted to say as well, but I ended up forgetting. That is, whenever you want to write a character, it needs a great backstory. And if the backstory doesn't involve, again, some kind of, you can go this 12th arcana, you can go sacrifice route, or you can go justice route, or you can go underdog route, you can go suffering route, it doesn't matter. But it needs that Gavratic element, because otherwise you don't see the person, or the character in this case, as deserving of their glory. Like, again, see the way Batman is constructed, see the way Superman, or even real life characters, which are just as made up, to be honest, like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or Zuckerberg. All of them have this kind of, oh yeah, I started from the garage or so on. Sure, yeah, I did it as well. Yeah. So you can use that to your advantage when creating your own mythology instead of just crying, being a crybaby about it. Like, yeah, this happened and that happened and so on. Yeah, that happened and that created who you are. And if that's not cool, if whoever wrote your character script first got it totally wrong or butchered the script, just rewrite it. That's the high priestess for you. Just rewrite it. But understand that if you just had like a bland start without nothing going on, then yeah, you're just like an NPC. What's cool about it? So, not saying also you should again just super suffer and so on. Like I see this a lot with spiritism in Brazil. People love the suffering, and it's like, okay, bro, I got it, but come on, move on. There's cool stuff to do as well. Don't get stuck on it. But both are both are important. Both are cool. Don't reject it. Don't reject the red entity with horns just because some guy said it's completely bad. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe there's some cool stuff to learn from it. So yeah, that's what I forgot to say. And also, man, it's just so cool. How it all connects. Even I guess today the card for today was the justice card or whatever. It's so fucking funny. And I mean, I ended last year already, but it will continue towards, I'm pretty sure, a couple months more this year. Some law stuff. And I've been using AI to kind of help me. Basically, the lawyer that I hired, their intern isn't back yet from the recession because, like in Brazil, it's summer, so everyone, like, nobody's working and whatever. But the lawyer is working, their intern isn't. So I'm organizing the whole thing with AI, and it's so cool. Like, I feel like I can work as a intern, in the law. So it's so freaking cool. I'm loving it. Just organizing all the details, and again, think about it. A lawyer constructs a story. They have to tell a story to the judge, and the judge has to approve the story. It's literally just storytelling. And so I'm doing this. Let's say, like, I'm obviously the lawyer is gonna give the last things, but I'm kind of setting up the thing, and I'm organizing all the information and creating and connecting. And then again, you have the synchronicities, like, oh yeah, I almost forgot that detail, and you end up finding it on some WhatsApp message somewhere, and so on. So things just start going and running, and that's it. We already broke all the mother flicking cliffas last year, 9 year. Now you're just moving towards, you're planting the new seeds. That's what we're doing.
Sorry about that. I muted myself, but started speaking, as sometimes happens. I actually thought something Arrow said last night, or was it yesterday? It might have been yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. It was really interesting, and I didn't get a chance. I know I spoke tons, so it wasn't like I didn't have the opportunity, but I didn't address it, but it deserved addressing. It deserved repeating. She said free will is often a cause of suffering. I was like, hello, Buddhism. I was like, Dharma, that is Hellenic Tantra. Maybe that is the true Hellenic Tantra right there. That's true. That's 100% true. That's like the one of the fundamental understandings of Dharma is that yes, our desire and our free will both are causes of suffering and causes of samsara. But I think that the thing is, and this is not to Eros, like, I thought that was great. Like, that could just be her bar by itself. But I think that the best way to always resolve these things is inside yourself. That doesn't mean, like, you're going out of samsara and then the next time you come back you're not coming back, so you have to, like, detach from the world. I actually don't think this is an ascetic aeon. I really don't. But I like the idea that actually people can live varied lives where maybe they're not engaged. Maybe you're not. Maybe you do. Maybe you play a star game. Maybe you're out of maybe you're a vol cell in the mountains for a certain amount of time. But who cares? Who cares? Maybe you were a baddie in your 20s. Who cares? Maybe you were married in your 20s. Who cares? I mean, everybody has their backstory. And like we've let people dictate to us like what that backstory can be. And like we always find out that they like live 100 times worse than any of the people that they decry. Like 100 times worse. And it's like, why do we have to like live in the craziness of like the strict archetype when it's like the aeon of the daughter and the son and she's dancing? Like, let's also dance. Let's all, well, I always say surfing. I like surfing better, so we'll say surfing. So we just go with it. You know, and you can change, you can be agential. We don't have to stay the same. Right? Like your life can play out in a way that is up to you in a lot of ways. That doesn't mean it's perfect. It's always by degree. And something Headless was actually saying, I know Matt's gonna laugh. Headless was actually saying something really interesting about the ecliptics, like Rahu Ketu, and like they're on the 30-degree angle. And I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, maybe that is exactly what I mean when I say that all life is navigable by degree. Maybe that's what I didn't really realize I meant, but like subconsciously, maybe that is the degrees that matter. 33-degree, right? So I don't know. There's something interesting. There's something interesting about like the whole like of course cosmology is really interesting, but we should try and also go, I think we should try and go above that to our own like minds, the study of reality, what even that is. But we don't take that into extreme either. We always come back in the middle pillar and we say, yeah, we're human, we're flawed, we can rectify, we can synthesize, we can generate, we can degenerate too. And so I think that we should focus on everything that everybody has been saying, and I think that that is beautiful. I know I'm sometimes emo, but I'm not really floral. So I want to say that. So thank you guys for giving us like the most beautiful, and of course Eros, and thank you so much for coming up, and thank you all for coming. Obviously we're not ending right now. I'm just saying, I just think that it's like it's not even a pill anymore. Like I say, we can never black pill in the Grey Lodge, which is true, but I think we actually perhaps bloom something a lot more interesting tonight. So thank you guys. Good job. Okay, Joshua, go ahead.
Well, black pill as long as you accompany it with a white pill, because after all, Hyperborea is yet to come, right? Kingdom come. But anyway, I just wanted to make one comment about that suffering element, because something that does set us apart from divinity, as it were. It reminds me of that movie Zardoz, which is kind of like a spoof on Wizard of Oz. So Zardoz is like a story about these gods. It's an old movie. But anyway, they eventually yearn to die because for them they've grown so bored that they've experienced everything, and so novelty for them is very sought after. So I think in a way suffering is like that novelty that we I know it sounds silly, but we shouldn't take it for granted, because gods, or God as it were, does not experience that, right? So we're getting to experience something that divinity can't. So I think there's something, and to find divinity in it, I think is kind of a purpose in of itself, right? To never forsake God, kind of like the story of Job, right? Even though he was suffering, he didn't forsake God, and so his blessings were multiplied in the end, right? So I can relate to that at times, like giving money when you didn't really have it, but then it comes back to you like multiplied, etc. Things like that, maybe, whatever. Anyway, thanks. That's all I had to say.
No, you're totally right, Joshua. We even joked about this in the lodge this morning. Remember, we were talking about Mormon money magic and how Mormons are actually the Jays. It's true. They mastered Hesed. They understand. I don't agree. I don't agree with how Hasidic people use Hesed. I don't think that you did that, Joshua. I'm just saying, I don't agree that it should always be a negotiation. Because if you understand the Kabbalah of it, yes, it's true, but it's like it's kind of like one of those things that probably we shouldn't do, because it's not really infinite. Because it takes like constant, like as all the videos, like everyone's seen them, like the people who are like Orthodox or neo-Orthodox, and they have all these weird devices in their house. That's what it requires. So you don't want to get too caught up in the contractualities. You want to actually bring like true Hesed. Yes, Hesed, Bina, yes. Everybody knows I love that connection. That's Ahava. That's the key word for that connection. Contractual or obligatory love. Love. But maybe you could say that is love under will. Maybe that connection is love under will. But the other connections are not about that, right? So I think that we should not try and negotiate the text so much. Maybe we just say it is, maybe the more Hasidic way, or maybe the more Jinsky's way, is to say, okay, it is interpretive, it's a text, so we are free to put it into implementation. Maybe we put it into implementation in allegorical terms, in terms of our minds. I don't know. That's just an interest. I think that's just an interesting way. But yes, of course, everybody should be Mormon money maxing as much as possible. And if that means that you're going to utilize, whatever, like certain periods of Jupiter, whatever, you all know I don't know these things. So whatever, certain times where Jupiter is like extra beneficent, then that's fine. But that but also don't misunderstand what that is. That's the exact same thing. So if I say that now and then I see you on the timeline and you're going to criticize the Jays, just know, I know you're a hypocrite. I'm just kidding. But it's sort of true though too, right? Because you can't criticize other people for doing the same things that you're doing. Like, you're going to say people are like evil magicians, and you're a magician, that's a big problem. Like a big problem. That's a klipa. That's a klipa of Gevra, the accusers. You don't want to do that. Why do you want to veil your own Gevrotic fire? That's why I kind of go wild on the timeline. Well, I haven't done that in like a year. But if you remember the old Jin, the Jin the Ninja days, it's kind of fun back then. But I never veiled my Gevra. I always just let it out. I just let it fly free. Because why not? Anyways, just an idea, something to think about. Joshua, go ahead.
Dude, I was hoping it would come back to me and it didn't. I'm so sorry.
It's probably my fault for being verbose and long-winded, but it's honestly a perfect time. We can close in 4 minutes. It'll be a magic number. You all know I love that. So let's do room shout. Okay. So first of all, we'll let everyone say peace out. So we'll let Eros go first, and so she can plug herself and her channel if she wants. No pressure, but of course, welcome. We'll let her go first, and then Matt, Joshua, Mike. Then I'll do room shoutouts. Then we'll go. Awesome.
All right. Yeah, it was great talking with you. Thanks for letting me speak. I really enjoyed our conversation the other day, so I thought I would just hop in here, but and I'm glad that I did. You guys are all like very authentic, and I love that. But yeah, I have a YouTube channel, Arrows Up. I guess check it out if you feel drawn to, and that's all I've got.
Thank you so much, Eros. I really appreciate it. I loved speaking to you the other day. I love that you came into the space. We always treat it like anyone from the lodge is welcome to come up. It's not just like us and the host. We just are the ones who normally do it. Obviously, I lead it, but it's always been an open mic situation. Like, Leo's come up at times, Moonblade's come up at times. Cassandra's always welcome to come up. Like, it's whomever's in our nebula, and you're definitely an honorary lodge member for real. And I'm glad that we actually became friends, because I think you're very, very smart, and that is what I respect in this world. And we're doing interesting work, and so I feel like there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't be in conversation and dialogue, because that's what it's all about. So thank you. And of course, Matt Murrah. What do you have to say, young Matt Murrah?
Again, always nice to start the year with spaces, especially on this Friday 9th. Super good. Super nice talking with you all. New faces, old faces. And you can always find me on Metmora19. That's going to be on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, Ko-Fi, maybe some other place like Telegram or whatever. If you find me there, you can always DM me. There's also my website. That's going to be Kabbalah.com, Kaabalah.com. A lot of cool stuff there, but like I said, focusing more on the tarot. So if you do read tarot, or if you don't know anything about it, but you check my pinned post on X and you found that interesting, just let me know. It's a very, very, very powerful tool for clarity, especially when you get the hang of it for yourself, because again, it has to be something for yourself. Like I cannot, for example, teach you tarot. I can give you some ideas, but at the end of the day, you got to connect with it the way you find best. So if you're curious, just DM me and I'll hook you up in the details. As always, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Matt Murrah, and obviously like and subscribe to our YouTube, which Matt runs, and also like and subscribe to Eros's YouTube. And I felt like she didn't really say that she's also a big member of Occult Reject. She also has a show with Headless. They do sometimes, I think she does sometimes with Alchemy, and so yeah, everybody check out all of those. That's hundreds of hours of free discourse. You don't have to agree with all of us. You don't have to agree with me. But we talk about serious things, and you will learn Kabbalah. And like Matt said, maybe I can't teach you Kabbalah, but maybe you just listen to the spaces and you hear Matt and I, Joshua and I, Solar and I, Mike and I, and we just go. We just discuss Kabbalistic themes, astrological themes, speculative Kalachakra themes, and then so from all of those hundreds of hours, maybe there is a distillation where you can figure, at least in a way, you can make a connection. So I think it's really important, and I do think this is very aeonic what we're doing. I think it's discursive. One thing I meant to bring up with Judith was how Mott is also the goddess of rhetoric, and how Kurkula is interestingly also the goddess of rhetoric. And I don't think I ever emphasized that when we did the Aeon of the Daughter Spaces. But I definitely emphasize that in my episode on Kurkula, which you can go listen to on my show, Threshold Saints, of course. Check out my Substack, thresholdsaints.substack.com, as well as the True Grey Lodge, plus Ultra Baby with a V. And sorry, Joshua, please go ahead. I see your hand raised too.
Dude, you reminded me of what it was I was going to ask. You were talking about Kurkula earlier, about the Mithraic element, and you were talking about contractual places on the tree. Couldn't remember what 2 Sephiroth was, but I remember Mithra is all about contracts, so I was curious if that was a similar element or if it was just coincidental.
So it clearly is, because there is, Frater Achad said the key word was ahava. Ahava is contractual obligation. I know I already said this, but I'm just saying it just refresh. So Sachi and I actually talked about this in his upcoming episode. So if you hear me repeat it, it's not because I'm think it's so brilliant that I said this. I'm just saying, although I do think it was quite smart that I said it. But you can think of Ahava as the Tefillin cord. That the Jays wrap around their hands or whatever their Ahava. It's the connection to the text. It's the connection to Bina, understanding. So if you look at Kurkula, she does wield a bow and arrow. And although she is not Mithraic, she's not Mithraic. Maritzi is Mithraic. She rides a corpse cart with 9, sometimes 7 boars. Sometimes it's 7 little piglets, which are quite funny. But anyways, yeah, so Maritzi is the one that is very Mithraic. But you could say that there's a Mithraic element in Kurkula as well. And that you could say that maybe part of the arc, her arc, she's associated with rainbows, right? So her bow and arrow, her arc, the arc of the bow, is part of that is the connection of Bina and Hesed. I would be very comfortable saying it. And in fact, if you go listen to the Occult Rejects episode that the 4 of us were on, I actually said that, and I actually said that on purpose, but I didn't say why I said it. So if you go listen to that, maybe you'll catch a little bit of that crazy wisdom. But yeah, I do think that. I do think Ahava is important. I just don't think Ahava is the key word. because I don't think that it's love is strictly contractual. And I also think it's like what, in English, we tend to mash all kinds of love into that one word. And to me, that's a big problem. It's not, I like English, as you all know. It's like it's very poetry. It's like you can make such cool bars, you can juxtapose, and like a lot of languages that they do not have that same quality. They just don't. English is like kind of special like that. It's a remix language. But all that being said, I think that there is room, that there is room for criticism in that sometimes it flattens the kind of depths and nuances of languages that have other concepts for love and different kinds of love. So Hebrew is fortunate in a way that it has several words for love and different kinds of love and qualities of that love. And I think ahava is definitely a quality of love in general, at least in the Kabbalistic conception. I do think it's important. I'm not saying I'm not ready to say what Matt said is like we're all just going to be poly, like running around singletons. I'm not ready for that. I'm just not. Sorry, but but I understand that people will configure their lives as they will it, and it's not up to me to make grand moralistic prognostications on how they should live. I can just tell you how I'm going to live and what I think the Aeonic concepts mean in order so I can live, so I can be generative. So for me, the Aeonic concepts they're not polycule for sure, but I also have a degree of where I'm I can't tell people what to do. So, but I also think that it's people on the right especially, they tend to be like, oh, the West is over, it's cooked, and it's finished because people aren't getting married and people aren't having enough babies. There has always been ebbs and flows in the population. There's always been ebbs and flows in the cycle. There has always been ebbs and flows. That's what the aether wave is. It's ebbs and flows. So there will be times, we went through a period of really high divorce, or not. Yes. Okay. So the 90s were a period of very high marriage and very high divorce. So maybe this is just a balancing act, a kind of balance, a kind of zimzum, right? Kind of dialectical exchange between that time where people were getting married very frivolously, so they were getting divorced disproportionately, and maybe now what the whole ahava means is that actually people will get married intentionally, which is exactly what marriage is supposed to be. Intentional, not frivolous. But I also think it's the degree of love. I think love is really important. I know for me, I know all of you know this, is that I'm not really interested in anything if it's not love. If there was if that is a future, I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm just saying if that is a future for me personally, it will have to be about love. I'm not a my baddie days are long over. So I'll say that. So that's what it will mean. But that's for me. So I just want to say that because I don't want people to think that it's oh, I'm saying you must do this. Yeah, ahava is one of the ways. It's one arc. A bow has two arcs, or I know that's not quite right, but yeah, kind of in a way you can say that. There's 2 points of tension. So ahava is one, ipsos is the other. So you have to balance those two, but those aren't the key words. So the key word is on the arrow, not the bow, and maybe in the tension of the string. So I think to keep that in mind. It's not rigidity. It's not total fluidity. And, even Nick brought up the right hand principle. It is a right handed aeon in the sense that it is more on what we would consider to be the left path, but it's not governed by the left path. It's governed by Hesed, Jupiter, because that's the tip of the arrow, right? And so, but the tension is at Gevra, which it has to be there, because that's the fire of discernment, discriminating wisdom. So you get to choose. So maybe the aeon of the baddie is actually over. That's kind of an interesting way to think of it. And people are free to live their lives, but maybe we just like there's a difference between like living it out in public on socials, everywhere for everyone to see, telling everyone this confessional culture, raunch culture. Everyone is tired of raunch culture. The normies are tired of raunch culture. When the normies are tired of something, you know it's over for real. So I hope that answers your question, Joshua, in like a kind of roundabout, weird way. But yeah, I think it's important, and I think we have to keep in mind all the places of tension on the tree and make sure that we're not out of balance. Like if I'm saying it's an aeon of mod, or just maybe conceptually aeon of balance, then we have to make sure that those points of tension aren't out of tension, aren't out of sync with each other. That would be a much more balanced way. Like Eros was talking a lot about order and chaos, and I think if you wanted to think of like that as order and chaos, like the tension on the bow, that would be perfectly fine. I think you could say that. So you just want to make sure that it's in balance, it's not imbalanced, and that you're not imbalanced. And so yeah, it is a moderate aeon, and that's okay. That just means that we move more into like a liberal, it's not really liberalism, but it's kind of like an acceptance. Like it's all the fruits of liberalism, but we don't have to be bound by those ideas of how we arrange ourselves, like the ways of the state. I know that's such a dirty word, but we have more choice, I think, and more discernment, and we can choose the way we want to be, to a degree, of course. So I know I went way over shit. Anyways, Joshua, do you want to plug?
Yeah, sure. I do appreciate how Eros was characterizing the planets and the exo forces. It was reminding me of Elden Ring, by the way, because you have like your terrestrial quote gods, and then you got your outer gods that kind of meddle in the affairs of things. So anyway, I was just kind of tickled how that was so similar. But anyway, yeah. I like to do spaces, so you might catch me hosting a space sometimes. I like to appear on podcasts as a guest. I'm also a co-host of the King and Branch show on channel KOK on YouTube. We'll be doing some more segments here soon, so you can find me there too. As you for hosting, Jen.
Thank you, Joshua, and yeah, shout out Chris in the King of Cups channel, or KOK, who's also a lodge member, by the way. Yeah, I don't always see eye to eye, but definitely he is a lodgy, and by extension part of our nebula, and of course because you're my lodge brother, technically we're connected by more than the like 33 degrees maybe. So thank you so much, Joshua. Appreciate you. Of course, check out all your work with Mario as well, and of course on my show Threshold Saints. As speaking of Elden Rings, which we have to finish our Dark Souls Elden Ring series, we did like a 3-hour banger into midnight. um, it was pretty brutal. So we'll have to make sure that Seth, next time we record, he chooses a reasonable hour of the day and not some like midnight hour for us old guys, us unks, right? So anyways, yeah, but I'm looking forward to that, and your episode is almost ready. I just have to have so many, like it's like I was complaining that I was like so in the backlog, and then finally I cleared out all the backlog, like every single episode that I needed to aired, and the last one was doing 6. So that's how long I had gone without like recording with him. He was supposed to be 36. So I was like, Sachi, we have to record because he's busy, right? Like he's fucking mad genius. So he's hard to get hard to handle a little, not handle, but like hard to to record with. So I was like, we got to do it because I have to finish season 2. And so the funny thing is like I did, and then suddenly everyone's like, Jin, let's record. Jin, come on my show. Jin, would you be interested in me as a guest? And of course I'm like, yes to everything, because that's how I always am. I'm like, yes, please come on. And then I ask people myself, and then they're all like, yeah, let's do it right away. I'm like, oh fuck. It's like an archive all over again. So I do have a little bit of a backlog, but it's coming, it's happening. and I'm happy. What's worse? I release a show every 3 to 5 days. You know, if people don't listen to it right away, that's okay because it sits on the feed and people can see it. Like, I think about the keynote, I think about the number. You can see that the series airs chronopoetically. I air things specifically back to back with each other for a reason. I think about it. I think about the time, the astrological time. I think about the planetary day. I think about the numerological day. I look at the Tibetan calendar and make sure it's a lucky day or a special day. I look at the lunar calendar and say, okay, is this telling me anything useful? So everything on my show, I'm just saying for my show, is like magical works in a way. And it's with the person that I'm recording with. So sometimes it does take me a little longer, is what I'm going to say. This is not the Georgina Rose. I know, we want her on Rejects. Okay, fine. But I'm just gonna say this is not the Georgina Rose like IG content mill. I'm not that, and I'm not even capable of doing that much content. Like, I'm only capable of doing humanly possible, like the way that I do it as magic. I'm only capable of doing so much. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna say. So that's why. So yes, I have a little bit of backlog, but it's great that people like to fuck with me, that like to come on the show, and that like to do series. So appreciate that. And so it's so lame when you have people who come into the space just to hate on you. But it's also funny in a way because I'm like, who the fuck am I to hate on? Like, I'm like a nobody YouTuber. I really don't matter.
Uh, I mean, it is funny that you drop name someone and then out of the sudden someone appeared. That was funny. I can
Well,
say that.
okay, yes, Georgina, please come on, Rejects. Okay, but she does have a lot of stands on Twitter. I will say that. She really does. I used to get in a fight with this one guy. I forgot his name. He has a Welsh flag in his bio. Anyways, I remember because I've gotten in probably 20 fights with him. So I'm just saying I know for a fact that she has a lot of stands. So it's like probably like on the Aether Wave, they heard their dark mistress in peril from the evil Dragon King, and they had to come to her rescue. So that's just an idea, of course, speculatively. Anyways, I'm sorry, Mike. Please go ahead and plug.
I have nothing to say after that. It was funny. I thank you for having me on. I have nothing to plug. Have a good night, everyone.
You know, I am just grateful that we all come together, including Solar for showing up, because of course he did ask to do the space, kinda. He does it in his like nonchalant way, but I can tell what it really means because there's always subtext with that kid. So, anyways, I think I'm really grateful to all of you for real for showing up, for coming, for doing this, for being part of it. It's pretty cool. It's cool to do an audio like e-zine, like Gonzo Gnostic format, Gonzo Gnostic Gospel like this audio Gnostic Gospel. It's pretty cool. And then you all get to be associated with the 2026, 2025, 2024 when we started doing it. You get to be associated with the Aeon of like the new Aeon of the Daughter working. So even by proxy, it is kind of cool because it is like a space and synthesis. It's a space and consent. Magic is motherfucking real because plus ultra baby. This is the Grey Lodge. This was Friday Night Gnostic Mass. Temples of the Mind Palace, which is of course your body and your own mind, and then maybe the secret third thing, which is also somewhat outside of you. So all that being said, thank you everybody. Vision, Aerosop, Cassandra, Trenorist, Elijah, Pendragon, very cool. Irish. Are you Irish though, Elijah? I don't know. It's a good question. But anyways, you know, I appreciate it. I appreciate that everybody shows up. I appreciate that we've got cool right wing accounts that like our show a lot, that retweet our show. I appreciate every single person, whether you have a big account or a small account. Whether if you just like and retweet the show, that helps. Believe it or not, it really does. It just means that they see the keynote, the visual, you know, the kind of vibes that we put out, and they can make a choice for themselves. And they can come visit the YouTube, or they can come listen live, and, you know, be a part of the magic too, because it is magic. You know, on an app called X, 10 in the 11, on Spaces, free in space. So, as Matt Morris said, I'm putting up I guess it's the quote unquote devil sign, but it's not really. It's just a tantric mudra. But let's fucking ride. Let's fucking ball. Because that's all we can do, right? You're the fire horse. Let's fucking go. Peace out. Everybody, take care of yourself. Mind number one, sadhana, meditation number one, actually. Meditation number one, sadhana maybe number two, idea. And don't be so literal. And also, don't block pill. Remember, we are a gray space. We do not block pill. Because when you block pill, you are falling into the actual abyss. So, you know, it's happened to me. Someone came and rescued me. I won't say the person may or may not be listening, but, you know, it happened a couple times. But I cannot always rely on that. I have to also rely on myself. So, important. And just keep that in mind. Just don't block pill. You can only control the reality around you. So that's pretty much it. Everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe and do what you need to do. Let's go.